Okay.
It's got all the good stuff.
All right. Welcome back, Screamers, to another episode of Case Stew for You. That's our AI-generated title for this episode.
Yay for us and yay for AI. Let's embrace it. Let's just fucking dig in and embrace it, man. It's coming. Why should we turn away? Why should we turn away from crap generated from stolen art?
Yeah, I mean, look,
why not?
People don't really matter.
Right.
People that create things don't really matter.
The faster we get to us not having jobs in this Wall-E existence, then we can get to universal income and to like a really shitty standard of life. I mean, like, whatever, fine. Yeah. Let's just do it.
I mean, look, this idea of universal basic income is really interesting, and I would love if we embrace that, because we would then have more time to create non-AI shitty art. We would have more time to do this podcast.
Right, but what would people bitch about, though? I mean, if we give them nothing,
have you looked at the news? Have you read the news? There's going to be plenty to bitch about without worrying about that.
I mean, yeah, it's Kate Mids has cancer. It's just the whole fucking thing is coming down.
Yeah, did you want to address your sort of like terrible jokes about the royal family from last episode?
I don't remember what they were, so that episode hasn't come out yet, so I haven't listened back to it. So I'll do.
But
that.
It will
I'll
come out
next episode.
by the time this episode is out.
So I will respond to last week's episode issues on next week's episode, which will be 4 episodes from now.
That's exactly right. And now, if you didn't know our pattern of recording and publishing, you do.
It's also confusing.
So, anyway, speaking of confusing, today we're going to talk about the new Kristen Stewart vehicle, Love Lies Bleeding, which is not confusing, by the way, directed by Rose Glass. And in conjunction with that film, we'll also talk about the other Coen brother, his film, Drive Away Dolls.
The other Coen brother. It's like a Twix. Either like a Joel or
like a
Ethan.
left Twix or right Twix.
Right.
And they both end up like writing and doing stuff with their wives. So yeah, I don't know how you tell them apart. But we're also going to continue our journey into the world of Ralph Bakshi with Coonskin and Wizards. They're really companion pieces, I think. So, right? I mean, yeah.
One has less animated penises than the other, but
yeah, his like, boy, he likes a swinging dick in his films.
I
mean, he really does.
He does. He absolutely does.
Yeah,
and and God bless him for that.
Look, I mean, you're into what you're into. I'm not here to judge.
Right. I mean, like, and really, he's the only one that's doing it. I don't really see a ton of animated penises since he's really kind of stopped doing things.
Yeah.
It's not like there's I mean, there's not really. I mean, I think you can probably find it out on the internet. I mean, there's places.
I'm sure you can.
I'm sure you can. Of animated dicks out there. But I'm just assuming. I am assuming.
It's probably not that hard to find.
Mainly because, and what I've heard in like Reddit threads in the news, I don't have any firsthand experience with this, but like with Texas passing certain laws, there's certain sites that are no longer accessible because there's an age restriction and they don't want to comply with that. So, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard out there for podcasters and people and young men and women and
animated
everybody.
Penises.
Right. And yeah, so if you need an animated dick, go digging. And that's all I'm saying. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams of seeing animated dick. Look, I mean, if there's one thing that we can impart to you today, it's animated dick is available for everybody who wants it and needs it.
Dick.
How many animated dicks is that?
That's a lot of. So, okay, all right. Let's get into these movies. That was a great segue.
Yeah,
I think. So I don't know if I've told you this. I try to tell as many people as I can, like off mic, that I've been doing some work on the artist David Vonarovich.
Uh-huh.
And this guy was part of that East Village scene in the 80s, worked with Keith Haring for a while, mm-hmm. But, in the same breath, he was and he was a big activist and died of age-related illness in like 91.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with his work or
I'm
not.
familiar with Herring. I'm not familiar with, yeah.
Anyway, he was, I was thinking about him in terms of these films as well. He was unapologetically gay. I mean, just, and also, not afraid to call out the system and how the system looked at him and people like him.
Right.
I think he had, well, a quote of his that I feel like really encapsulates him is from the documentary Vonorovich that came out in 2019. And he said, "I'm not gay as in I love you. I'm queer as in fuck off." and I think that encapsulates too some of these new films that we're seeing come out, like Bottoms, Passages, All of the Strangers, and then these two today, right? Love Lies Bleeding and Drive Away Dolls, and even maybe some upcoming films like Stress Positions.
Right. I think it's let me slow down while I stutter a little bit more.
That's what we're here to do.
It does seem like we've hit a switch, and I think it's a good thing that we've crossed a barrier where queer relationships are just shown on camera, and they're not apologized for or overly explained or used as fodder for whatever. Mm-hmm. And we can get into Drive Away Dolls and whether that's true and Drive Away Dolls or not. I do think some of the films I think it's becoming more and more normalized. I think Bottoms was trying to make a point. And so there's a particular, there's not like it's a normalization to an extent, but it's also a pendulum swing significant into telling the queer story. I don't think like when Love Lies Bleeding is really that, because we see that story kind of evolve. And yes, I don't think that the queerness of the two main characters is coincidental or even inconsequential, but it doesn't necessarily drive the story really. And so it's nice to see that level of evolution in the film that where we're not having to like, it's just become part of the norm. And so now we will hopefully see stories where it won't even be brought up. It'll just be these two people are in a relationship and that's what it is. I mean, like it's not even really part of it. It's okay, fine. It's a thing. And now we can just, move on past it.
Yeah.
And I guess I say that, I think that's a good thing, right? I mean, I do think there's obviously needs to have, but I think as it bleeds into other genres and
I like how you did that with Love Lies Bleeding.
with take animated films or rom-coms or where it is a normalized, like we see in Anything or Anyone But You about two women kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, or two, whatever. It doesn't have to be I don't know. I don't know what put weird words into this, but non-normalized stories or at least the stories that we have not seen previously. And then we can just accept them as, rather than having it to be a Brokeback Mountain-esque type story where people are going, okay, I get it. Or gross or whatever. I mean, like, the typical, like
the typical reaction of kind of quote unquote everyday people, right? Yeah. When I think I was going to say, I mean, if listeners don't know, these two films are lesbian love stories in a way. So like we've seen these kind of like sapphic films before, but they've always been like more buttoned down, maybe more corseted is the better term. Right. So I mean, you think of something like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which I think is a perfect fucking film. But it's still set in ancient medieval times. I'm kidding, right? But it's in that place to sort of the tension and the sort of tabooness of the relationship, and neither of these films does that.
Right.
And I think that's that idea of like normalized. This is these are two stories that don't really call attention. Drive Away Dolls more so than Love Lies Bleeding, but they don't really call that much attention to the queerness of the films.
Right.
Yeah. And even this actually goes into some of the Bakshi stuff too, where, I mean, the animation is normalized in those films, right? These are, I mean, except for Wizards, which is based on a true story, I believe.
Yes, it happened, actually.
These two wizards. But, Fritz the Cat, Heavy Traffic, in Coonskin, these things are played as this is regular life, right?
Right.
And it's not just, oh, this is a cartoon and kid stories. And so there's still that normalization there as well. And cartoon dicks, you know.
Animated dicks.
All right. So let's get into
that was a working title for this podcast, by the way.
But animated dicks, yes. People are like, well, you got the dicks part, right?
Right.
Assholes.
Yeah, we just figured we were too old to be animated, so
That's right. We try, but it's sort of a lack of energy.
right.
Right.
And no one wants to listen to lackadaisical dicks.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Nugenics. She'll like it too. So,
Frank Thomas, can you tell us all about that, please?
So Driveway Dolls, subtitled Low T.
The case, Santos.
Not on your life.
Hello, girls! It's the last body shot competition, so we are gonna salt you up.
I've had it with love. I don't believe it's relevant to the 21st century lesbian.
You're not wearing that.
I just came from work.
I came from Toledo. I don't dress like it.
I'm not here to peddle my wares. I'm leaving town.
I am too. That was my plan. Where are you going?
Tallahassee, Florida. I've been unhappy.
That's why we take this trip together, honey babe. We get our act together.
Curly's Drive Away, Pennsylvania's most trusted name in car delivery.
Curly here.
Don't call me Curly.
And your name, Curly?
My name is Curly. We just met. It's too familiar. We're here for the car. Wait a minute. You call with a drop-off in Tallahassee, and then these broads come in and say they're ready to go to Tallahassee. They drive the car instead of you. Is that bad?
Bad if they find the goods.
What? You should see what's in here.
I bet it's locked.
I understand that you're unhappy, sir. We will find and deliver the package.
We just want your friends. You cannot relate to the public, which in the service profession is a big handicap.
Did the two creeps find you?
They know we have their stuff. Maybe we sell it back. Shake them down.
Are they like wanted or something?
Oh no, they're not in trouble at all.
I'm gonna help you break a big murder case.
That is about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I'm a cop.
Who are you?
Democrats.
Wow, you've had a full day.
We're just going to keep going with this. All right. Yeah, let's get into Driveway Dolls first, because I want to get it out of the way.
Yes,
I
let's-
just want to, like, yeah. So this is, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying we're not going to get it out of the way. That's not going to happen.
I
We're not
know,
going
but
to gloss
look,
over this.
I can hope.
It's a story about two girls going down south.
Hope. But okay, but this is directed by Ethan Cohen, not the Cohen who did Macbeth.
Evidently,
people
the
are
lesser
like,
Coen brother.
Right, I made that clear, didn't I? Right, and he did write the script with his wife,
Right, who
Trisha Cook.
identifies as queer.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an interesting relationship. I mean,
Okay.
they have kids together, but it's what I was reading about the relationship, and like he met her back. I don't remember what they were filming, but she's worked on some of the films, and he approached her, said he was interested. She said, no, thanks, I'm queer. And I think it became kind of but they were intrigued.
Yeah.
And then it was an open relationship kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't want to paint it with a certain brush necessarily, but I mean,
Right.
or to try to define the relationship. But from what I've read, that's kind of the gist of it all.
But we have talked on this podcast too about how queer doesn't necessarily have to mean just like one thing
Correct.
or the other,
Right.
right? So saying you're queer just means like, or could mean, I don't want to say just means, right? But could mean, well, I'm not this or that.
Right.
I
think
don't fit that norm of what you expect.
I think at the time that she met him, she identified as a lesbian, and then I think
Gotcha.
maybe has evolved. It didn't
Yeah.
evolved is the wrong term. Like it, changed at some point, or
Well, I think evolved is fine because our identities evolve, even if it's from.
I just didn't want to put.
No, right. You don't want to put the
like the bottom, like, or anything like that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you didn't want to Darwinize the gender fluidity.
Here are the obvious levels of sexuality.
Look, when I was down in Patagonia observing the lesbian habits of
the black tortoise shell,
I realized that. Why is Donald Trump on your watch?
That's a good question. Oh, it's an X.
Fucking asshole.
He's gonna. I don't know. It's a Twitter notification.
So you have a Twitter notification set up for Donald Trump.
I know it's an Occupy Democrats one. I don't know why.
Okay.
Honestly, I can't. I don't know how to stop it. So I'm just like, don't know how to, and just have been not
too lazy
bothered,
to figure it out.
Not to figure it out, but it's like too lazy to actually do it. Like I can just do that on my wall. I can just cover it, and then I can. I just have this is like a Clockwork Orange kind of like Apple Watch where it just like flashes offensive images to me, so I become normalized to them.
Then that makes sense.
Right.
Then that makes sense that the Donald Trump picture would flash up there. Right. I wonder if Trisha Cook said to Ethan Cohen, and what she meant was, when she said, "I'm sorry, I'm queer," was "fuck off." I wonder if that's really what.
It's a question to ask, but it was also the late 80s to early 90s.
So she would have known Vonorovich.
Sure, right. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. No, probably not.
No,
I don't think he would have. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into
what's
I know.
IMDb say about this plot? But what did they get wrong about this plot?
Jamie regrets her breakup with her girlfriend, while Marianne needs to relax. In search of a fresh start, they embark on an unexpected road trip to Tallahassee. Things quickly go awry when they cross paths with a group of inept criminals.
What? No.
I know. This is why we do this.
Again, mad-libbing all of this. She doesn't regret her breakup. They're not necessarily criminals. I mean, they're politicians and they're associates of politicians.
And they're henchmen of politicians, right? I mean, right. These are not, they're not mafioso, right? They're not mobsters. They are...
Right, they're just they're
like a chief of staff, and then these two, inept henchmen, right? But yeah, and no, she doesn't. Margot Qualley's character does not regret cheating on her girlfriend.
No,
and I don't think that's the first time.
Right.
That character. I don't mean to imply this about Margaret Qualley. She is just all about getting laid. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That is the only thing she's after.
I think we're going to describe this movie and it's going to sound more fun than it actually is.
Because, should it be more fun than it is? On paper, should it be?
Well, if you read this, right, if you saw the trailer and you thought, okay, this is this is a Coen Brothers film, you would have given this the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, this is the big Lesbowski.
Nice, the big Lesbowski.
but
it's my special fucking lady friend, man.
But alas, it's a film student attempt at Coen Brothers, and it's all heavy-handed. It's all hammy. None of the direction, none of the comedy, anything really of this film actually works. It should be if you see and again, I think, coming from everything that they've done, and it's one thing to say, well, maybe some of their earlier films were missteps but they weren't. You go directly into Raising Arizona from it. They had a flair for this type of film. So you take Raising Arizona, Big Lebowski, Burn After Reading, all of these things kind of should have fed into this and made this much, much better than it was. And none of the humor actually hits. We were talking about it last night about why it was set in 1999. I guess they had started writing it back then, which is why it was set then. But again, nothing speaks to the actual need for setting this in 1999.
Right. I was trying to sort of do mental gymnastics to make it fit, right? And it wasn't really happening.
And I think, and my main complaint about it is that it seems like we get a lot of these movies that are set in a pre-cell phone, pre-internet, not pre-internet, but pre-readily accessible internet stage. just so you can avoid having to explain away why they have not used a cell phone to get themselves out of trouble. There's nothing that really about this that speaks to, aside from the very, like you said, the very end where they go back to Massachusetts to get married, because it's the only place that they can get married. Then that's really about it.
Well, and again, like there's no, I mean, so okay, this was set. Was it 2000? I mean, is that when it's supposed to be set, or was it 99?
There was a title card, not a title card, but there was a 1999 at the very bottom of the screen as the film starts.
So if that had played into any kind of like animosity that they encountered or any sort of tension building moments, but it doesn't. No one cares that they're gay.
Right.
I mean, Margaret Qualley rails against everyone who might think oddly about them for being lesbians, but no one says anything. I mean, there's never any sense of danger
Not
around
even
that.
The uber right-wing politician, which is Matt Damon, who's in the trailer. Why are you putting him in the trailer?
I know.
Why is that not a big I mean, like, no one can do it. Like, why can't you keep Matt Damon secret?
Yeah.
That should have been a, oh, shit kind of moment. Oh, I mean, at least it should have been like a needle drop kind of funny cameo type thing. But, I mean...
And like we said, I mean, or like I think I said last night, we shouldn't see him until the very, very end.
Right.
Very, very end.
And Matt Damon's not really that character anymore. Like, it's not like, he's not, like, you need someone who's kind of playing against their own type or making fun of themselves in that case. I mean, like, I was going to say Alex, Matt Damon is not that guy. I mean, so this movie starts off with two women who are friends. One's frumpy, one's a Holly Hunter kind of Spitfire, basically.
Yeah, Southern Spitfire.
And they decide to shake up their lives and take a road trip down to Tallahassee.
Well, it's not even that. The one is going that way to meet her aunt.
Right.
And then the other one's like, I'm coming too.
Right.
And then she's the one who's like, we need a shake up. I mean, but it's not really, I don't know. I mean, I guess you get the idea that Marion maybe needs a shake up or needs to, well, she needs to get laid. It is what Jamie keeps saying.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, the shake up is I don't have a place to live now because my girlfriend threw me out. So let's go on a road trip.
Yeah, and the aunt angle never really makes a whole lot of... It's never really explained why she's going to see her aunt. It's never... I mean, like, even when you get to meet the aunt, it's never really explained why she get... So, like, this whole... Like, the plot is so threadbare. Like, and it's so... There's so many gaping holes that normally don't happen in a Coen Brothers film. And again, I think maybe it's... I don't think it's unfair to judge this film against all the other Coen Brothers films that came before it.
Especially because it's so similar to all the other films that came before.
Right. You know, they have this conceit where they decide to do a drive away service where they just take a car that needs to be taken, you know, a parcel of some sort, and needs to be taken to a certain city. They luckily happen to find upon one that's going to Tallahassee, so they get a car to go to Tallahassee, and of course the car has items in it that we come to find out this politician is looking for. But you don't really know that immediately because it just seems like there's this like gangsters that are looking for it.
Yeah.
The film opens with the murder of Pedro Pascal, and like you think, well, there's some sort of like espionage of he's carrying this case around, and you don't know what's in it, and he's running away from people who are trying to capture him. It's all, and once the big reveal happens, it's so like meh. You
Dumb.
just like, you don't give a shit. Like, and it's so like, the Pascal part, like, why is he in this? Like, I mean,
because he's kind of the moment,
right?
I mean, but that's it. I mean, that's
from his perspective. Why is he in this?
I have no idea. Yeah,
because they don't really get anybody else. I mean, like, no offense to Margaret Qualley or I forget, I can't pronounce the other girl's name. So. And I don't want to butcher it, Vivian something, and it's an Indian name, I'm assuming, and I apologize if I'm assuming the ethnicity incorrectly. Geraldine, yeah. So whatever, that whole part, I'm whatevering me, I'm not whatevering Geraldine.
No, I know.
I'm the asshole here, right? I'm the animated dick.
He's very excited right now too. So.
Like, no offense to them, but I mean, I can see why they're in this movie. I can see why, but I don't know why. Like, the cameo pieces of it only serve to remind you of films that were done better from the Coens. And like, so these characters, one, don't know how to behave in a Coen Brothers film. Matt Damon doesn't know how to behave in a Coen Brothers film. So those two big reveal cameos don't add anything, don't kind of save anything. It'd be one thing if it was Clooney. Like, Clooney makes more sense in this than Damon.
Yeah.
And
that would be good, actually. That would have been...
Right. It would have been funnier, right? The cameos of like Miley Cyrus and like those are so poorly done that so when you realize what those actually are and why there's some sort, I don't understand why they were ever an interstitial into the film. Like it doesn't speak to, so like in the movie we get these cut scenes that are like a Austin Powers 1960s cut scene.
It's like a tie-dye lava lamp like effect. Right?
And they're also they harken back to the acid flashbacks that are in Big Lebowski. Mm-hmm, so they're supposed to be these like informative scenes that you only understand at the end of the movie, and they don't inform the action that's going on at the time. All of this is like hyper violent to an extent that doesn't need to be. This doesn't need to be bloody and it's not overly, but it's enough where you're just like the Pascal scene where he gets a knife and a corkscrew stuck in his neck, and then he's like gouging out his eyes. The gangsters act, they kill people that they don't need to kill. Like they kill Curly at the I mean, they actually do kill him. They beat him over the head.
Yeah, we the last time we see Curly, Bill Camp. Right. It's Bill Camp. Yeah. The last time we see him, he's on the floor behind the counter when Beanie Feldstein's cop character goes to check out the rental car agency, and he like throws
the
paper up in the air to try to get her attention. It doesn't work, and that's the last time we see him. So, but yes, they beat him for no real reason.
I think that was a pretty clever visual. That was I
did like that. Yeah.
There were a couple of moments where I like that I in spite of myself was like, okay, that was a second or two that was pretty good. But like these two goons that are chasing them that are desperately want to be Buscemi and Goodman, and they can't be because they're not those guys.
Right.
There's no quippy dialogue. There's no like 1920s film noir that's in a Coen's Brothers style here. So like everything that they're saying, you expect it to be quotable, right? Yeah. I mean, like, but it's not. It's all banal and just, and you're just like, what the, like, I don't even give a shit about these two guys. I don't care. The girls go, do lesbian things. They meet up with the soccer team
that are having a basement party.
Right. That, okay. Which it's hard to like separate. Some of this feels icky coming from Ethan Coen, and like it just feels like it feels exploitative in a lot of senses, like especially the first opening sex scenes where like they seem like those are played for laughs, and I'm not 100% sure that's the right take to them, right? I mean, like, I don't know, I know you want this movie to be funny, but and so like but
there's a line between funny and making fun of,
right, yeah, and like so it like I don't know how I really felt about those scenes, other than I was questioning how I felt about those scenes. I do think it's kind of funny where she's like in the middle of oral sex and she's like listening to and then she stops to listen to the answering machine. But I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, we've seen that before too, right? In various kind of guises of stopping to answer the phone or.
Yeah, so it seems weird, and then so. You follow them to the party, to the basement party with the soccer team, and they kind of have this moment together where so the basement party, these girls are all just swapping kissing partners, basically.
If you've never been to a basement party,
right, it's how it works.
Just rotate.
And they get
musical partners.
They rotate to one another. They kiss for a little bit, and then Marion gets freaked out about it and
gets arrested.
Right. Right, which again is a weird plot point too. Which is the only reason it just feels like that is the only reason that everything that happens is just to drive the plot in a certain direction, right? So she gets arrested so they can flag that, so now that they know that where they are, essentially. They get to Tallahassee, they have a flat tire, and then this ridiculous flat tire scene. They go to look for the spare, and of course they open up the case, are the two cases that they have in the car. One of them is Pedro Pascal's head on ice, and the other is a briefcase. You don't get to see what's in it for a minute, and then come to find out it is a briefcase. It is a briefcase full of dildos.
Dicks, animated dicks.
Animated dicks. And
see, all of this like dick
all,
conversation is like led back
circle.
To
And so you come to find out that the dicks are, I guess they're all of famous men,
powerful men,
right?
I think is how they
like.
So Matt Damon's a politician, and I think there's like
a Supreme Court justice,
right,
and like a billionaire's dick, and like whatever. And it's a really weird. I mean, just philosophically speaking, it's a really weird left turn for this film to take, because Margaret Qualley's character Jamie uses the senator's penis to masturbate. And then I love that I'm saying this on a podcast.
I never thought I'd hear you say senator.
Right. I usually don't mention those political terms on this podcast.
I know. Wow.
So she's using the penis to masturbate, and then at a certain point, Marion wants to experience the penis as well. So it's a weird left turn for this film that's been very pro-lesbian, to then state that what they really need, and you said this last night, is the Chasing Amy thing, is that they just really need a nice dick.
A good deep dicking, I think, is what Brody actually says.
Right.
Wait. Is it Brody?
No,
Brody was Mallrats.
Brody was Brody was Mallrats. Yeah, I don't know I forget what Affleck's name was. And,
no. It's Jason Lee.
No, but it's Affleck, because after they sleep together, she's like, "Can I just tell my friends is what you really needed was a good deep dicking?" Right,
but Jason Lee said it before.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was like, all women really, women really need, all they really need. Yeah. You're the Kevin Smith acolyte here.
Well, I remember Affleck saying it. Anyway, in this movie that is very pro-lesbian and unapologetically pro-lesbian, it is a weird angle to take, to have your last 30 minutes of this movie where the women are then consumed with this
phallus.
And to the point where and it's a weird thing too, because like the whole premise of this movie is the politicians, this ultra right wing, family values, conservative,
moral majority,
and he was, and like also like, so everything is undercut, right? So the whole idea is that he was tricked into doing this by some hippie chick, and when he was
Miley Cyrus,
right, when he was smoking marijuana in college, and she took Tiffany Plastercaster. I don't know if their first name was it, but
something like that.
Plastercaster. I'm like, that's not
really
clever.
No.
And then so this idea that that dicks are so special and so unique that people would give a shit in 1999. Like the whole conceit of this movie is just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But it's also just insulting. It's insulting to your protagonists. It's insulting to Matt Damon. I mean, like, it's insulting to like even the moral majority in this case. It's like it's like this weird, and then they find out, they understand, they get the gangsters catch up to them, and they for whatever reason tie them up and bring them to this dog race.
Yeah,
which is
the
odd.
Dog track. Well, I mean, it is Florida,
right? So they take him into the underbelly of this dog race.
That's track. All there is. It's Disney and dog tracks,
right? The double D's. And so you can get a couple of cut scenes of a dog racing towards this kind of like that's supposed to be sort of metaphorical. I mean, but anyway, they explain all of it, right? They explain that Plastercaster took a cast of his dick. And that he's been searching for it ever since. He can't, because what harm would it do to his political career if he couldn't find it? So he's like and that's the whole.
I mean, it's like, did he sign it? I mean, like,
right. And so that's why Pedro Pascal, he had it because he was a collector, I guess, and then he got murdered.
Right. He was going to sell them, or like he was going to, yeah.
So the henchmen end up murdering each other. And again, just a stupid plot device. And so the girls untie themselves, get free, and they go and they retrieve, because the dick wasn't with them. they left it in the hotel room. They go and retrieve it, again, very easily. There was no hardship whatsoever to get the dick back.
No, in fact, the house cleaner had put a bow around it.
Right.
For them.
And so they make a plaster cast of it, and they ransom him back over to Matt Damon. So they make Matt Damon go to this lesbian bar called She Shed. And they
the seashore,
right? And he gives this explanation, and he's like, "This is where all the quippy shit in the trailer comes from, and this is why they had to put it in there because there are no clever lines, and these lines, by the time you hear them, he asks them who they are, and they're like, we're Democrats, which kind of plays like a laugh in the trailer because it's very fast, and then this idea of like he says, I used to love unfettered capitalism, and I'm just like. I've just been banging my head against the TV at this point because like these lines are so bad in context that I'm just like, why did you? I mean, like your film hasn't been quippy. Like these girls haven't. I mean, Margaret Qualley is a nonstop motor mouth, but like what she's been saying, aside from a few like Southern colloquialisms that exist. I mean, like she mentions Fort Worth and like how the South doesn't accept and all this kind of shit, but it has not been your your Clooney and Oh Brother Where Art Thou kind of dialogue, right? It's just not that. And so having these pseudo lines at the end of this movie, just like it's all stupid. But and then they get the money. Damon gets killed because he gave him the money and he's gonna rob it, steal it back from them essentially outside of the club. And then but by this time Beanie Feldstein has caught up with them to give their dog back, which is a thing we haven't really mentioned, but again, it's not really point to point.
No.
She sees Damon rushing towards him. She shoots him. End of conflict, right? So they go back to the hotel, and now we figured out, I guess our two leads are now in love with one another, because I guess they had the scene together where they had a shower scene and she used the senator's dick on her. And so,
but yeah, all of a sudden they're in a relationship and they're going to
right. And also the really insulting thing is that she can't stop thinking about the dick.
I know.
How fucked up is that?
Right.
Like, if I don't get it. Like, how insulting is that to your lesbian audience or to your queer audience or to like
into the characters and again,
audience
right? I mean, to anyone with like half a brain. Because all of a sudden you're like, wait, now they're into this is what they want.
Yeah. And then then there's the big reveal is that she made she made a plaster cast and she made two molds for both of them.
Yeah.
Hers and hers dicks. And that resolves that conflict. They meet the aunt finally and say immediately we're going back to Massachusetts to get married. And then they leave the bag of dicks behind. It's the last kind of like joke of the movie. And that's it. Oh, no, that's not it. Then they drive past a brick wall that has OLL on the doll's part, and it pulls away and it says drive away dykes, which kind of fucking fucked up?
No, so that was the original working title.
Okay. Well, then fuck you.
So wait, but no, because you said that though, right? So this film was in development or had been in development since 2007 with this title, right? Or it was in like pre-production since 2007 with the title Drive Away Dykes. At one point, this is the people who were attached to this film. Selma Blair, Holly Hunter, Christina Applegate, and Chloe Sevigny. All at one point were attached to this.
But you had to believe then it would have been a Coen Brothers film, right?
Right.
And so at that point...
Well, no, it was still just Ethan and Tricia Cook with, I think they wanted Ali Asner to direct.
Oh, no, I thought they did Allison Anders.
That's who it was.
Okay. Ari Aster. These double A directors.
What? I'm like, this is not right, but I'm gonna get close, right? Allison Anders, yeah. Jeez, man.
But if Allison Anders does this, one, she doesn't do the dick thing, right? And also, or it's played differently. And this is not a comedy. This is a much fucking better film if Allison Anders has that at the helm, especially in 2007. Like that would be a movie I would really like to see.
Right.
But yeah, not this.
No.
The Henry James part was kind of dumb too. Like, I mean, that whole plot thread. Why have that in there at all?
Well, I mean, right? Did that ever really pay off?
No, she just finishes reading the book, and that's basically it. I mean,
which one was? In which book was she reading?
Fuck,
I forget. Anyway,
yeah, I think it was
because it wasn't Portrait of a Lady.
No, it was New Moon. I think, yeah, it was Twilight New Moon. Or
oh, right, that's right, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah. Henry James' Twilight, Breaking Dawn. No, you're right. You're right. We fucking know Henry James didn't write Twilight. It's okay.
This is part of a planned trilogy, which I can't believe gets made because this.
Not now. This is terrible. God,
right.
This is just.
But yeah, and it's like a lesbian road trip trilogy, like loosely trilogy, kind of a loose trilogy.
I gotcha. Sort of a collection of
right,
yeah.
of Ethan Cohen's lesbo films. Like it'll be a nice Criterion box set later on.
God,
cool poster art. I guess that's about the best thing I can say for this film.
Yeah, I think the concept is good, but it just the execution.
I mean, everything is fucking hammy. Like, I mean, there's a scene where they like it feels like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I mean, it feels like all the comedic moves are that telegraphed. Mm-hmm. And it kind of Jay and Silent Bob, I'm not disparaging necessarily that film, but there's moments where I expect Jay and Silent Bob to act like Three Stooges, right? I don't expect any people in an Ethan Cohen or a Coen Brothers film to act that way. And there's a moment where they're looking around a corner and they all three look at one another and nod, like distinctively nod. I'm just like, oh, come on, man. This movie's not funny enough for that. It's not even like, it's not zany enough for that.
No.
I don't mind it if I'm watching fucking Mannequin, but I'm like, if you like, or like Police Academy, but if you're watching this shit, like you're not that film. Like, I mean, it's just.
When you're not that filmmaker.
Right.
Right? Or at least you weren't.
And it's so, this is so, I was just like, this is so wildly disappointing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'm not looking forward to what, I mean, like, I know they're supposed to be coming back together for some horror film later on, like they've got something in development together again.
Who
Joel and Ethan.
Oh, okay.
But I do think they have other things planned separately.
Yeah.
But if this is the type of, I mean, I liked Tragedy of Macbeth, but I mean, like, that was an easy, I mean, that was stylistically cool and well acted. This is just, it's just garbage.
Right. Well, and this is, I mean, you were talking about Margaret Qualley, and I mean, I understand, I think maybe I understand, is going for that kind of hysterical realism that we saw in Raising Arizona, but it just doesn't, she just honestly becomes really annoying at a certain point because she's just yelling and arguing with everyone. But then again, I mean, like you said, everything gets undercut too by the end because it's like, oh, I love Dick.
Right. Well, it's like Margaret Qualley thought that she was in Raising Arizona,
right?
And none of the other
one else
did, right?
And not even the director.
Like the basement party feels like it's cut out of Fargo, right? I mean, it feels like a scene that was in Fargo. Funny looking. Yeah, it's bad.
So some of the films that Cohen cites as references, I found this interesting, right? But I'm a Cheerleader. Okay. The works of John Waters.
No.
Okay. And then there's some other ones, but this is one that I really liked. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myers,
right. No, right. And you're like, I don't believe for a second that those are actually reference points for this film, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
right.
don't think
There's no.
The reference
not at
points
all.
are The Big Lebowski, Burn After Reading, and Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
Those are your reference points. Yeah. And they're all
there's
three of those films
nothing,
are wildly better than this one.
And there's no Waters in this at all.
No. And that's insulting to Waters. Like, there's nothing, like, one, you best come correct if you're going to fucking say that your film is influenced by John Waters.
Did you just say if you shoot at the king, don't miss?
Yes, that's exactly what I said. I mean, Russ Meyer's fine. It's not what you were doing. I mean, like, but okay. I mean, sure, whatever. It's an easy reference because it's a cool poster that most people know, but they don't know the film.
But even if you use like even if you took like Vixen, right?
Yeah.
It's still not.
Yeah.
It's still not a reference point.
Your film is not. It's not that Grindhouse. It's not that. It's not.
When it's not that cool.
It's not.
I mean, I was doing the quotes. No one can see that. But
I think we got it in your reflection.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what this film should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tragedy Macbeth is at least a departure, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like from pretty much everything that they've done. And so that was the right way to go. This could have been a departure. You could have gone a different way with this. You could have, but this is, again, every bad Coen Tarantino knockoff that came out after Reservoir Dogs and Fargo.
This might as well be that.
Right. This was that. Yeah. This is, and it's, I don't know. That's yeah. It's weird and no good, and don't watch it.
Yeah.
You're better off.
Hated this movie. Yeah. It's a queer road trip buddy comedy, but none of it adds up.
And I do think like critics have been kind to it. And I think people are just giving Coen credit.
Yes. Yeah,
this is based off past work, right?
This is where I think this is where a lot of criticism has gone, is if you are an old hand, an old master, quote unquote, you get a pass. No one's going to call you out on your bullshit, right? Well, except us.
Except the motherfucking screamers.
But because we are a kind of iconoclast, right? And I mean that with sincerity, right? There are no fucking golden calves here, right? I mean, there are, and we've talked about this. I'm not going to go on about it.
If Scorsese was sitting right here, we'd tell him to his face.
Well, and I'd ask him, why the fuck are you doing a show for Fox Nation or whatever, right? I mean, but no, I think a lot of these.
He's finally become Travis Bickle. He's finally done it. He's crossed over and become. I did see a quote from him too, and I don't mean to interrupt your thought.
No, please.
I saw the quote from him today. He was like, and I didn't read the article because it just annoyed the fuck out of me. But I was just like, he thinks there's become too many Travis Bickles these days. I'm like, that's your fault, piece of shit, you dumb motherfucker.
But why does he then keep creating characters like that in all his movies?
Right.
Because that's what Ernest is, right?
Why don't we see why do we see a 5-minute of DiCaprio crying scene when his kid that he didn't give a shit about died?
Right. Like maybe you should work to create more Lily glasses.
Are there no mirrors in your house, Martin?
Jesus God!
Stop getting your taint licked by Chalamet.
Society, right?
So have you seen Dune, Marty?
That's cinema.
I have blue eyes and shit.
Like real blue. Like Bob Dylan blue. I'm also playing Bob Dylan. All right, let's
Travel Yells and Timothy Chalamet
and
Scorsese, you guys all suck.
Fucking catching strays, aren't they? Hey. Collateral damage, motherfucker. All right.
Challengers can't come out fast enough, by the way.
I know. I'm really looking forward to that.
I hope it's good.
I do too. So, I mean, is this going to be? I was thinking. I mean, as we kind of transition into Love Lies Bleeding, I'm trying to figure out like who do we not see, and maybe I'm just wrong here. Maybe I just don't know. Do we not see male homosexual films like these?
Oh no, I think not mainstream like this yet.
Good, that's what I'm. That's what I meant.
I think you got All of Us Strangers and Passages. I think they're coming. I think
okay.
And I think,
but because even like Call Me by Your Name was a different kind of film than these.
And let's be fair to them. I feel like that's a bigger barrier for people to get over, right? I mean, it's just.
Look, yes, I mean the sapphic era is kind of like, oh, two girls making out, yeah,
right.
I mean, right. That's more socially acceptable because really all women want is a good deep dick in there, right? And a husband to take care of them anyway.
They can be turned by any given phallic symbol, any given animated dick. I I'm trying to think if there's been like since Brokeback. I mean, like, and Brokeback was such a statement movie, right? That
Yeah.
was. I mean,
but even like those, even the ones you mentioned, right? There's still this tension of being a gay man that, like, again, like you don't see necessarily in Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah, I guess so. Because
you know what I mean?
All
like,
Strangers was their his dead parents were. Oh, sorry, spoiler. And then I do. Yeah.
Where it's not as normalized as like the films that we've mentioned already today.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like where it's not played for like comedy or
like, oh my God, something tragic's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, was there something else I was gonna say? Fuck, who knows? Love Lies Bleeding. This is the new film by Rose Glass, who also wrote the film or co-wrote the film.
You talked to your dad recently?
Why?
Give us a call.
So where did you appear from? Oklahoma? I've never been anywhere but here.
What were you doing with that big girl?
Get a lot of crazy ass foreigners mostly. How's it going, guys? This here's Jackie.
Hi.
She needs a job. Says she'll do anything.
Yeah, you like guns?
Not really.
What the fuck you doing here then? A bit more powerful than a punch, huh?
Fuck yeah.
Call me when it's done.
What is this place? Huh? You don't understand. Get back in the car.
They found the body.
Looks like you've got your hands full.
You'll regret this.
We'll just need to fight back. I'm gonna tell them everything you ever did.
FBI, open up.
Are you threatening me?
Yep.
That was really stupid, honey.
I'll never fall in love, okay?
Gym manager Lou falls for Jackie, a bodybuilder who is passing through town en route to a competition in Las Vegas.
All right. That one's all true.
It's
not everything about the movie, but
no.
it is definitely the surface level plot points.
Sort of.
All right, we finally have one. We have one that I can't completely disagree with.
I want to give you some of the influences that Rose Glass cited for her film, since I did with
Faster
him.
Pussycat Kill.
Yes, Vixen. So Glass gave the cast a list of films to watch. She's like, watch these. This is kind of like the vibe or some of the stuff I'm going for. Showgirls.
Okay.
Crash, the Cronenberg Crash. Actually, in the interview, she made sure to point that out. She's like, the Cronenberg one.
Right. But she did say Green Book afterwards.
Yes.
Which I know has nothing to do. It's another shitty Oscar.
Just another, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Showgirls, Crash, Paris, Texas.
Okay.
And Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, no, I'm not going, okay, like all this makes sense. I mean, these are all kind of like gritty but dreamy films as well. And like Paris, Texas gives us this kind of landscape. I think too.
You get the feeling that people only know Saturday Night Fever from the music and from the dance sequences and have never actually watched that movie.
Yes.
Because it is not.
It's pretty dark.
It's not Grease. It's not what people think it is. If you had never seen it, it is a rough, ugly film. And it's weird to me that they ever like tried to make it, they re-released it as a PG-rated film. I've never seen the PG-rated version. No, there's a whole poster. It was like, now Saturday Night Fever is now rated PG. Like, because it came, like, the soundtrack became such a thing that they were like, oh, shit, we need to capitalize. I don't know how it had to have been like 5 minutes long, but like, I mean, there's rape and gang violence, and it's just, I mean,
it was just him walking with the paint cans. With the song. That's it.
But yeah, I feel like people talk about that movie and you get it because you have the airplane parody and everyone's so familiar with the iconic suit. And like, I don't think anybody realizes that it's more akin to cruising than it is to Grease.
Right. Cruising. There you go.
But back to Love Lies Bleeding.
Is that a red hanky or I'm sorry.
When I first moved to Dallas, there was a Tom Thumb. I lived Lower Greenville, and there was a Tom Thumb, and that was the yellow hanky. That was the thing. If you put bananas in your cart, that meant you were like, because it was all by SMU, and it was was a younger strip club audience that was living down there. And if you put bananas in the baby seat of your cart, that meant you were looking to, you could be approached to be, hit on.
How do you know these? No, not you. Not how do you, but how does one know this? Like how would you know? Like, because look, I don't know about you, but I like bananas, right? I mean, as far as fruit goes, and so I buy bananas, and that's usually where I put them.
But how does anything like that? Like, how would I have known of that?
That's what I mean.
Like, I don't even know how that information
so if you went in there, right, and like, would have done that, and someone approaches you, you're like, what the fuck? Like, wait a minute. Like it's fine. I'm, look, thank you. I'm flattered, but no, thank you. But like how? And then, well, you put bananas in there. Like, they're fucking bananas. Like, yeah. I don't want to lose them or smash them in the other stuff.
All these urban legends that exist. How do they get passed down through people? It's like it's like piercing the wrong ear and letting people know you're gay, kind of thing.
Right. It's so.
The 80s were a rough time.
There was an artist who did a whole kind of like a photographic lexicon of the male homosexual. And so it had stuff like that, right? So it was a photograph of a guy, right? And then like arrows pointed to earring in this ear. And like, it was a whole list of things. It was pretty clever, conceptual, but also like well done artwork. Anyway, I forget the artist's name. Sorry. Go look it up. So look, I mean, I think this film, at least on one level, is and I said this to you last night, right? This deconstruction of masculinity through a queer feminist lens. I mean, it takes the action and the muscles of those films from the 80s and subverts it.
Yeah.
Right? So like, instead of Stallone, we get Katie O'Brien.
Who's amazing.
Fantastic. Right. Yeah.
The two female leads are amazing in this.
They're both so good. I mean, I love Kristen Stewart. Especially from her like early art house days of Twilight. All those Breaking Moon or whatever.
Those 6 Henry James films. Who I think that was Joyce, right? James Joyce wrote Zathura?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was his last work. Published posthumously, but it's actually a sequel.
It was finished by his kids.
It was a sequel to Finnegan's Wake. No, look, I love Kristen Stewart. I mean, I think I think you really start to see what she can do with Olivier Sayes. I mean, I think that really just sort of cracks something open, especially I think in just the consciousness of the movie goer, because, those are mainstream films. But this one, she's just so like, all of her twitchy energy is used to like its best effect here. Right. She takes some of that she did with, what was that Cronenberg, Crimes of the Future, and uses it in a more subtle way
Snow
here.
White and the Husband, I think what you were looking for.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Was she in the second one too?
No, she wasn't. But you know why she wasn't in the second one? Because she had an affair with the director of the first one, and they couldn't take the bad press of putting her in the second one.
Oh,
so
really?
That was just a Hemsworth vehicle, I think.
Was Theron in the second one?
I don't know. I don't know if she was in that. Honestly, I did not see either one of those movies.
But anyway,
I'm more of a Cinderella guy than I am a Snow White. I just don't. I don't appreciate the.
You know what? My favorite one, Sleeping Fucking Beauty.
Yeah.
Because they're quiet. There's no opinions. There's no talk back.
There's something to be said.
I'm kidding. It's a joke. Right?
Yeah. It's something to be said for knowing when to keep your mouth shut. I think that was the tagline of that movie, actually, too. Sleeping Beauty. She knows when to keep her mouth shut.
Prick.
You've been listening to Animated Dicks, formerly known as Why Does the Wilhelm Scream?
So,
we apologize to our female listeners out there.
Please know this was a joke, and we are not intending to offend anyone.
Look, we've been talking about lesbians all day long, so
we're trying to subvert machismo.
Right. If you met us, we're the least macho guys you know.
This is true. The tattoos are just cover up.
Right. Yeah.
We try to look tough. But,
right. Yeah. Everything.
That's how identities are made.
Right.
Constructed as facades.
Look, we have to keep up this tough guy persona for the public, and because otherwise shit would unravel.
We have reputations.
We have a rep to protect.
Yeah, this is true. Street cred.
But underneath us, we're listening to Bonnie Tyler and dancing in our pajamas at night.
In our Walkman.
Yes.
With our Walkman.
Right, while our cars blow up.
So anyway, K-Stu is amazing in this film. So is Ed I Have No Harris. Good one. No, anyway.
And less sexually molesting Franco brother. Dave
right,
in this one.
Right. Which I think he's good in this. I think kind of everyone is good in this. And Anna Baryshnikov in this role is like a twitchy kind of methed out like love interest or like side love interest, right? She has a thing for Lou, but Lou has no interest in her.
I'm not ready for Jenna Malone to start taking Hausfrau roles, though.
No, I'm not either.
I need her to still be. I need her to still be Jenna Malone.
Yeah. I know that was a weird role for her, but
I mean, I appreciate that she's in it. I mean, I appreciate anytime that she's. I mean, all jokes aside, I think she's really great. So I'm appreciative when she actually gets work and shows up. But it was an interesting decision, I guess, to have her in it. Although I think all of that plays really well. I think all of the when you see it like in something like $1 Million Baby, where it's played to like the rafters, this all makes sense in this world. I do think so. I mean, laying out the plot, she comes to town, joins this gym. She's a drifter. She has. She does whatever she can to survive, basically.
Yeah.
And so she sleeps with Dave Franco's character, who's married to the sister of K-Stu's character.
And they're the daughters of Ed Harris,
who's this kind of gangster who owns a gun range, and she sleeps with Dave. And Dave Franco works at the gun range, and so he sleeps with her to get her a job at the gun range, and that's kind of how they all intertwine together. And Kristen Stewart's main driving point is that Dave Franco beats the shit out of his sister, out of her sister on a regular basis, and still plays this like. So she's constantly pissed off and like trying to rationalize with her sister to like leave him, but she's also stuck in, so she's stuck in this shithole town with her gangster dad and his trappings, and like her mom is gone, and. But she stays in this town watching this gym that her dad owns, because he's trying to make sure her sister doesn't get killed, essentially.
Yeah. And early on, we understand that she's estranged from her father, but we don't know why.
Right, and the feds are after her father too, because he's like this, and he's got cops in his pocket, and
he's like a small town crime lord.
Right. Yeah, he's Ben Gazzara in Roadhouse.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Wait, the new one? He's in the new one?
Unfortunately, they should have put him in, AI'd him in, but
well, all the stuff you can do with AI now.
Right.
I don't know why they need people.
Some of the things that didn't like. So I think this film tries to do a lot, and so initial viewing. This is a challenging movie.
It is. Did you get to see it twice?
I did not get to see it twice.
I didn't either. I really wanted to, but I couldn't get back out to
it. So there's the whole film noir aspect of it that I think is a mistake to pay attention to.
Oh yeah.
I think the film doesn't. Well, again, that's where I think viewing it twice helps. Is that you are not caught up in trying to figure out the plot aspects of it, or if that will really ever play. Because this is a film noir in a sense, but it doesn't really pay off. Like, I mean, I guess it doesn't. I mean, there's no like reveal of crime. There's no like comeuppance. There's no bad guy gets away with it at the end. Right. So you
don't really even have a femme fatale in that traditional like noir role.
Right. This is more, like you said, it's subverting the tropes of masculinity. It's female empowerment, and it's also the futility and the sense of helplessness that exists. And
it's that balance of like power and vulnerability of being in love, right? I mean, this is like a fever dream of falling in love, and then what happens when you kind of get trapped or see yourself becoming someone that you don't want to become, and how you get back to that person, right? But there's this like being in love. I mean, this film is kind of saying like being in love is empowering, but also fucking scary and dangerous, and you're fragile and you're vulnerable because of it.
Yeah. I think like explaining like as much as we give spoilers and we don't give a shit, I think giving too much of the plot points away, the heavy beats of this, does it a disservice. I mean, this is a body horror film in a certain sense.
Well, and this is, I just want to touch on that because I think in a kind of, through like a queer lens or a queer reading, it's that body transformation, right? And so like we see her, Katie O'Brien or Jackie, the character, shooting up with steroids, and like we hear the rippling of the muscle and the popping of the veins, but it's her kind of, I mean, transforming into something else. And maybe you can read this as a kind of, it's not a fully coming out thing, but like a realization or...
Right. And then the difficulties of her doing it on a stage. So when she gets to the competition, she actually vomits on stage, and like in her head, she's becoming different. It's something different than or what she imagines it to be is different from the reality of it all. I mean, obviously, there's sequences of this. Like, I mean, we can talk about the Hulk scenes,
right?
There's one where she beats shit out of him and rips, like basically curb stomps James Franco, and you see the aftermath of that. And not, whereas you did in American History X, I thought I was going to lose Kat during that part. I was like, okay, this might not be. We may have to go. I may have to go see this on my own again somewhere else. And then there's a sequence where she becomes larger than life to protect Kristen Stewart from her father. And I thought those also seems, I think the first one where she's in the house and she's huge, but she's not house size.
Right.
She's not stories tall. I thought that one really worked well. I thought that was like the sequence of like, and again, you can read into it what you will, and I'm sure people will take away from, but this idea of like, she's finally gained power and like she's now kind of overcome this male brutality. I thought that one was really cool. And that's a really cool visual to see her like, just like hulking over Franco and standing in this home where she's like 10 feet tall kind of, and just like gigantic.
Yeah.
I think the last one is a tricky bit. Like, I mean, making her 3 stories tall and holding Ed Harris. Was it Ed Harris? She picks up Ed Harris, right? And it's like, or did she pick up somebody else and rip him in half? I can't remember.
That's Ed Harris. Okay. Yeah. Because that's when Ed Harris has shot Kristen Stewart and sort of, tormenting her, or kind of standing over her.
Right, about to kill her kind of thing.
Soliloquying, right? And then, and then, she comes back and sort of grabs him.
And, right. Yeah. But I think it plays well. I think it actually, to me, really, really worked. And I think that the sequence of them running together, like where they're both the same size and you assume that Kristen Stewart is also grown, or maybe it doesn't matter it doesn't. Right. But they're now
they're both giants anyway.
Right. Yeah. And they're free from all the shit that, I mean, like her sister gives her the ability, like say that she kills the husband dies. And her sister basically is like, why'd you kill him? You don't know what this wife is. And so it kind of frees her from this life and they can both run away together. I thought it was, I mean, like, I didn't instantly walk out of the theater thinking, oh shit, this was the best movie I've ever fucking seen. Or like even really I liked it, but I definitely thought, well shit, I'm gonna have to sit with this for a really long time.
Well, that's how I felt too. I was like, I think I like this. And I was like the last one I mean, it wasn't a packed screening, but there were plenty of people in the screening I went to. And I was like really slow to leave because I'm like, okay, I gotta like sit here and think about this for a second.
You need
like,
to see the post-credit sequence too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the stinger. What, now she's like green?
Right. Stay tuned for She-Hulk 2, season 2.
But I mean, I had to sit there for a minute too, like, okay, I think I like this, but I just kind of kept, but it never left my head. I mean, it just occupied my thoughts, and I just kind of kept rolling it over until I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I totally dig this. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like a 3 stars out of 4.
Sure, right? Yeah, I don't think it's a perfect film by any means either. But
No, and I think because I think there's a couple missteps that I think we're probably both on the same page with this. But I think she's really good at some of the editing that takes place and how we see the criminal empire, like through this editing, through like the montage, and how we see the relationship kind of growing between these two women through this kind of like use of montage, cutting, right?
Yeah.
But we come to find out things about Kristen Stewart's past with her father, or involvement with her father, and I'm like, I either needed more of that or none of it. Right. Because like the little bit we get,
so
I mean, I understand that shows us how she knows about this ravine.
Right.
But
I feel like the ravine's the least of the, like, that to me.
But like, I don't really care.
This
how she knows about that.
Like, to me, like the freeing part of it, right, is her sister. So like, I understand Kristen's ties. Kristen, and also she has, look, we've come to find, I like a depth to a character where you come to find out she's not as good or as pure as you think she is. So I understand, but you can understand that she was tied to her father in different ways. So we get this idea of like, that her mother, that there is a ravine. They are out in this like, what is it, between Oklahoma and someplace I don't even know, like Vegas, right? It's between Oklahoma and Vegas, because she starts off in
she came from, so they're like in Arizona?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't have I have no idea.
Looks like Arizona.
Right. So anyway, it's a relatively small town, and there's a ravine outside the town, and that's where Ed Harris has been dumping all of the people. And you come to think that, well, okay, that's where their mom is, that her mom didn't really leave. Her mom was killed by the father, and they're in the ravine, and that he's been dumping people in the ravine for a long time. So they take Dave Franco's car after he's been killed, and they dump that into the ravine, and then they lead the cops there.
They set it on fire so they can see the smoke.
Smoke. That's right. And the cops go down, and they're like, "This doesn't end," and like there's more people down here.
Yeah.
And like, so, and then that
because she's trying to then entrap.
Right. Yeah. And that pisses Ed Harris off. It really pisses Ed O'Neill off because he wasn't in this movie. But it pisses Ed Harris off.
He's got that Modern Family money. He's fine.
He's fine. I'm sure the residuals
that's the new fuck you money right there. Modern Family money.
I'm sure he was doing fine with his Married with Children money too. So
well, and I mean the accolades for Dutch.
Right. And his brief cameo in The Spanish Prisoner. Yes. So like, I think you could have done that differently. And I think that whole aspect, it gives more credence to O'Neill's character than you really need in this film about female empowerment. I mean, no, goddammit, Harris's character. Now I'm fucked now. I'm fucked. It's going to be Ed O'Neill. Can we just say it was Ed O'Neill in the movie? That way I don't have to
I think so.
Myself?
I mean, they have like the same amount of hair, right? No, I mean, I agree with you. That's what I mean. Like, I don't need any of this because I don't really care why they're not speaking or why they're estranged, right? Because the freeing aspect is the sister, is her detaching herself from the sister, right? It's not about the father. And so along with this, I don't need Jackie to make the phone call home. I don't need to know anything about her other than this is where she's going. Right. All it does, in my mind, is give them a reason to use the word monster. Right? Because Ed Harris is like, no, your mother...
O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill, my bad. Yeah. Ed Harris is like, I didn't kill your mother. She left because she couldn't stand being around you because you're a monster.
Right.
And then on the phone, right, Jackie's mom calls her a monster. And it's like, okay, I get it, but that is the only time in this film where we understand that maybe what's being referenced is sexuality. Right. You could read it as, oh, well, Kristen Stewart's a psycho because she was killing people with her dad. but that's a stretch, right? And you can read it as, oh, Jackie's a monster because she looks like She-Hulk. But that too is a stretch, right? Because this is a queer movie. So I mean, So I was like, I don't need any of that. I never need her to make a phone call. It doesn't matter. You can look at her, and I don't mean that in a negative way, right? But it's set in the 80s. She's gay, bisexual, and she's a bodybuilder. I get why you left home. I get it,
well, and
right?
It also it undercuts a little bit of their normalized queer story,
right?
Too, because
that's
again, like you're saying, Harris doesn't bring it up. Like he doesn't care.
No,
like Franco's not really like Franco or Malone are not really repulsed by it. They don't like even. It's not.
They're out to dinner as like a couple, like a double date, right?
And so there's no. Yeah, I mean, there's no like real. The only thing that comes up, I think, is when the bodybuilders when the bodybuilders are giving Case to a hard time. So I mean, like,
because they tell like, well, you know, she likes girls, and Jackie's like, okay, right,
yeah,
but that's it, and that's more of like a ploy to get the girl to come with you rather than it is
right.
I mean, she doesn't have a dick or a senator's dildo for that matter
to change her back.
So yeah, I mean, none of that comes up. And I mean, even when Ed Harris goes to bail Jackie out from jail after she beats somebody up at the bodybuilding competition, I mean, he's like, did you guys have a falling out? Right. What happened?
Yeah. Why'd you call me? Right.
Yeah. So none of that is brought up ever except for that moment. So yeah, I mean, that was like my one kind of like, I don't need that. I thought the other use of editing was really good and really clever, but that just didn't.
The other thing that stood out to me was a pancake house that also served margaritas.
Yeah.
It just brought me right out of the movie. Like, where does that exist? Even in the 80s.
A small town in Arizona where you can get everything at that pancake house. They got a bar back there. I don't think I've ever been to a pancake house like that.
I don't think
so. But is it more like a
either.
Diner? I wonder if it's just, I mean, because, you know, you can get booze.
It's hard to find a diner that has booze.
It's hard to find a diner, period.
Yeah, I mean,
in this day and age.
It's possible. It's like, they're expensive, though, still now. I mean, like, if there's a couple in Dallas that are good, but like, Jesus.
Well, because they're like upscale diners. Right.
Have you been to Jonathan's in Oak Cliff? You should try Jonathan's. It's good.
Okay. All right. I mean, are they open like 24 hours?
No, I don't believe so. No. Yeah, it's not a real fucking diner. I get it.
I mean, it's like
that's true. Well, I mean, like COVID really killed. Like, that's one of the. I mean, like not to digress too much, but like
because we never do that.
The idea of late night shit that doesn't exist anymore is really disappointing. That's like of all the. I mean, aside from the 3.5 million people that were dead in the U.S., that's first.
The real bummer
by far. That is first. The listeners. Look, listeners, that I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the worst thing about COVID was all the COVID deaths. I'm just gonna put myself out there and say that. Then
bold statement.
Number two is that we don't have all night places to go anymore. Like even Walmart's not open all night anymore. Yeah. I mean, so I can't just go and pop in at 3 a.m. to do something stupid. Go buy go browse DVD racks or whatever. Right. I mean, and yeah, I can't
play hide and go seek.
Right.
That's what we used to do.
Like, I don't even think like I guess Waffle Houses might still be a thing. Like I know they're still a thing, but are they open 24 hours? Because like the one by my house is like, it's like, you can get stuff all night long, but you can't eat inside like after a certain, but I live in a bad neighborhood too. So that may be part of it. So.
Oh, well, I wish I lived in a worse neighborhood. I miss like bad neighborhood, living in bad neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's
I say that like I have like money or something. I live in like a gated community. I have no money.
No one has money in this America.
You're not kidding. Everything is a cycle.
There's like 6 people that have money, and that's basically it.
Dude, everything is just fucking terrible.
So go see Love's Lies Bleeding if you have no cash. I mean, sneak in or something. I don't care. Like I mean, go pay to see it because that gives money back to the. Because look, here's the thing, folks. Go see Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you don't, we're going to be left with pseudo-Christian horse shit and Kung Fu Panda 22.
Right.
And that's going to be it. And look, no offense to Kung Fu Panda 22.
And there'll probably be a crossover event too.
Right. Because theaters are dying and Hollywood is dying. Storytelling is dying. And I know we've been saying this for a long time.
And we're going to keep saying it for a longer time.
But in reality, it is, I mean, we're going to end up with, look, here's what we're going to end up with. is that the theaters are going to be filled. God damn it. They're going to be filled with my Texas accent that comes out every once in a while because I'm speaking too much. It's going to be filled with like Bollywood films. It's going to be, no offense to Bollywood films, that's fine. It's going to be filled with like subversive Christian bullshit or right-wing propaganda. And then
those are kind of the same thing.
And then culturally
vapid.
Bankrupt superhero films.
Which are also in a way like right-wing propaganda.
Right. Love Lies Bleeding is a film that needs your attendance. I mean, fine. Go see Beetlejuice when it comes out. But definitely, I mean, buy a ticket to Love Lies Bleeding. And if you're going to go see Frozen Empire, buy a ticket to Love Lies Bleeding and then sneak into Frozen Empire. I know that everyone has to choose seats. Wait until it's all full.
It'll be fine.
The first few rows you'll find a seat. And it's fine.
Not gonna
you
fill
paid
up.
money. You paid money, so it doesn't matter to the theater. In fact, the money they probably get to keep more money than they probably prefer that you bought a ticket to Love Lies Bleeding and then snuck into Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
And go see independent film. Seek it out. Make sure you pay to see it.
Because then we can also see what Rose Glass does next,
right.
Which she did a film called Saint Maud, her first film, which, I mean, speaking of like Christian subversive films.
right.
But I mean, I think this is, similar themes with this kind of like power dynamics and intimate relationships, right? But I think I don't know. I think this is a much better film than Saint Maud, and I like Saint Maud, right?
Agreed.
But yeah, so
yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever she does next.
Yeah, do more Rose Glass,
yay
just for us, yay!
Okay. Maybe call Ethan and see if you can make that second lesbian road trip movie better.
Yeah, no shit, God. All right,
lesbian road trip. We should make that movie.
What was that?
Lesbian Road Trip. We should make that movie with get Tom Green out of retirement.
I was going to say, right. Yeah.
And Breckin Meyer. They can all be in the movie as like cameos, but like.
Could we do also a crossover event with Harold and Kumar?
Yes. Harold and Kumar go on a lesbian road trip.
Oh, I like it. With Tom Green.
With Tom Green.
And we can call it 5 Nights of Freddy Getting Fingered.
I'm pretty sure that movie exists, or will soon. I mean, we're getting
somebody's Googling it right now. I'm like, oh my God. Whoa.
We're getting Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Have you seen the first one?
No,
I haven't either. I kind of want to, though.
It's the problem.
I mean, the premise of it. I'm like,
the premise, yeah, but it's a 5-minute premise and it's stretched out.
I know. That's what all horror films are. They
are planning a third one. Called it's something about the Pooniverse, where they're all of the they're gonna bring in Bambi, all these different characters that are gonna be hardcore horror characters. I don't know. I mean, it's something I'm I'm not actively avoiding it, but it's one of those things where it's it's gonna have to be a lot for me to turn it on. Yeah, I'm sure I'll see it at some point, but I'm definitely
good. You can tell me how it is.
Right, it'll be our Christmas episode this year.
Yes. All right, let's get back. Let's get back to Bakshi. We need some kind of big intro, sort of transitional music,
right.
More than just what I put in.
You want to play the Scatman Crothers song?
I'm a minstrel man, the cleaning man, the poor man, nigga man. Watch us dance.
Let me see your license.
Okay, yeah, boy, you can take me.
Ain't this a bitch?
It sure is, brother.
I don't want no more H pushed around here. Sell it downtown.
Okay, so his movie, and I'm going to bring this up, and we'll talk more about it as we go. But his movies heretofore make me uncomfortable.
They're supposed to.
I know, no. I know. But what I mean, I think part of what I mean, I think and I said this before about the other ones, is I still am not sure how to take his tone. I just can't get on the same wavelength of the sort of like satirical approach, is what I'm saying. Right. And so, like, intellectually, I understand, right, that this film is sort of taking on these stereotypes and archetypes and playing them for satire, right, and playing them as like a mirror back on the racist, right, community. I get it. I understand intellectually, but emotionally I have a hard time connecting with that.
Don't let your white guilt get in the way of enjoying these films.
It's probably more Catholic guilt.
That too. Right.
But the two things together, I'm fucked, right?
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Everything's my fault.
It does take a minute to take a step back, but I do think, look, that's not I do believe that that's part of what Bakshi wanted to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, because here's like you and what's fucked about Coonskin in general is that the original title of the film was Coonskin No More.
Right. Oh, but didn't it start as Harlem Nights?
It did start at Harlem Nights, but then when they changed it to Coonskin, it was supposed to be Coonskin No More, and then Paramount was like, yeah, it's quippier if we call it Coonskin, and then Paramount was like, oh shit, people are back. There has backlash. We're not going to distribute this anymore.
Well, I mean, the Congress of Racial Equity, right, came out immediately and was like, this is racist, right? And without even seeing the film.
Right, without seeing the film.
And they like smoke bombed like the Paramount office building, right? And of course now it's been reappraised and sort of reconsidered as exactly the opposite.
NAACP was like behind it though at the time. They were like, look, this is like what, and I think there were a lot of supporters of Bakshi. This was a film. I mean, we can get into the rundown in a second, but like, this is a film that was animated mostly by a black studio,
right? When other people weren't hiring black animators too,
right.
So yeah.
He went into Harlem to capture these stories, and this, you know, his movies up to this point have always been a mirror back to white society. I mean, this was meant to like, it was meant to take all the subtlety out of all the subtlety and all the subtle racism that we had in animation and just in society, but in animation specifically, from, you know, the World War II propaganda to the ridiculous treatment of indigenous and black characters that was predominant in from Terry Toons and Looney Tunes and Disney shit, and just to basically say, here's what you're really fucking looking at. Here's what what you should be seeing when you see fucking Heckle and Jekyll is these characters here. When you watch some bullshit like Song of the South, this is what this is fucking telling you, and this is what it looks like. You see Song of the South, and this is what Song of the South looks like to a populace of color. And to that extent, I think the fucking man is ballsy as fuck.
Right.
And like, look, I don't think he always sticks the landing at all. And I don't necessarily know, like, he has his prejudices with that are, he's got so much like internalized anger that it permeates in weird ways. And so I think, like, if you look at how he treats the mafia, and I understand, like, I don't think the mafia should be praised necessarily, but like in this movie, we see the mafia driving a lot and profiting off a lot of the stereotypical black enterprises, like drug dealing and gambling. They're forced to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, so the mafia is driving a lot of those activities where it just looks like, you know, it's a problem that's permeated through the culture, and it's not. It's given down to them, right? And so he's portraying them in that sense, but he also then like makes all of the Don Corleone's sons gay, except for Sonny, and like really like
right,
like really bizarrely, and everyone in a Bakshi film is grotesquely animated. So it's to say that the gay characters or the queer characters are grotesque. That's okay. They're in a Bakshi film, so everyone's grotesque in a sense. But they
look like Snowflake from Heavy Traffic.
Right. They're very distinctive. And So those are the points that I don't necessarily know how to take, because I don't know like how much queerness was being portrayed in animation at the time.
Sure.
So this seems like a fuck you to, like, I don't think it's necessarily an intentional fuck you to queer characters, but I don't think it's doing them any favors either.
But you could see where he's saying to these kind of mafioso who want to portray themselves as like almost like the epitome of masculinity, right? This is how I see you, which again is not it's him doing it in a negative way, but to them it's even worse. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to defend him there, but I mean, I think that's probably what it was.
It doesn't take me out, and it doesn't but I think everything in this movie you're supposed to be questioning. You're supposed to like how you feel about it. I think the genius of this film, and I don't know. Let's lay into like the plot line.
Sure. Okay. So here's the short one. Rabbit, a country-born trickster, takes over the organized crime racket in Harlem, facing opposition from the institutionalized racism of the mafia and corrupt police. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is based, it's almost like a retelling of the Uncle Remus folk tales, right? And so you've got Brer Rabbit, you got Bear, and you got Fox, right? All three in this film running together, right? But then there's also like the real life story going on around
there's
it.
There's a bookend with Scatman Crothers. Like and they're trying to break. There's two brothers in jail, and one other brother that's trying to break. Or like there's acquaintances.
So Tubbs is in jail,
right? Yes, Patrick Tubbs. Yes,
Tubbs is in jail, and Barry White is going to break him out with Preacher, played by Charles Gordon.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to break out Tubbs. I'm gonna quit calling him Tubbs, but I forget his real name because that's all I know him as is Tubbs. And then Scatman is escaping with Tubbs for some reason.
Yeah.
This is gotta be like the worst jail, like the worst prison.
Yeah.
Because they're outside of the wall waiting for the distraction and these guys to come pick them up. Well, I mean, Scatman's like tagging along for some reason.
Well, I think anytime a jailbreak happens, if you can get in on,
I guess so. Yeah, no, that's fair.
That.
That's fair. But no one knows these guys are like. I don't. Anyway, okay. So, but at that
Andy
point,
Dufresne spent 20 years digging a whole lot of Shawshank. So I mean, look, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think some low level.
I know, but look, I mean, these guys don't have like Rita Hayworth's help.
They don't have posters they can put up on the
wall. So as they're waiting, Scatman's like, "Hey, let me tell you a story." And he tells them this story. I mean, and it just so happens these characters match up with these three. So,
yeah. I mean, that's basically, and so we get the story that Brer Rabbit is essentially a rabbit goes to, they escape, they go to Harlem to make money essentially, and they come across street
because they were their like adopted parents died, right?
Yeah.
And then like somebody took over their house and turned it into like a whorehouse, like a brothel. I'm sorry, right? The preferred nomenclature these days.
Right.
And then they were supposed to get money for the house, like for selling the house or something, but that guy like ripped them off. And then the sheriff's daughter was working in the brothel, and then it just kind of all went to hell. So they like skipped town.
Right. Yeah, because they end up they kill the cop, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
So the very,
because they go after them, but they're not actually like working there. I mean, yeah.
Right. They're going to get their money. Mm-hmm. The deputy starts to motorboat the sheriff's daughter. Very busty drawing of a daughter. And then the sheriff shoots the deputy and then turns because Rabbit's there to kill the witnesses, and they kill him.
Yeah.
And then they have to bolt essentially, and so they head to Harlem to go make money and make their way. And throughout the course of time, they come across a false prophet, a guy who's kind of like being led by what I'm assuming. He's not explicitly the Jewish character, but like he's a white guy who's counting money.
Oh
he's the one who's like he's raising money for a black revolution, but it's so easily overturned by Rabbit once he basically kills or they frame the preacher with no I'm sorry, that was the difference. They end up putting the low level mob guy in the blackface, right? That was the whole. So they drugged.
That was the cop.
The cop. That's what. No. Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was the cop who was working for.
It was the
mobster,
bag man
right?
for the mob.
Right.
But this black prophet, it was just a front
to make money.
To make money, and they're like, yeah, we're starting a revolution, but they're not really, right? They're just kind of keeping all that money, and then, Rabbit's like, he sees what's going on, and they just take a stash of money. And he's like, what are you going to do? We're going to tell everybody. And then like all hell breaks loose there again.
Right.
They kill some people. And
it kind of has the same sort of like anthology kind of sketch thing as Fritz the Cat does, where they bounce from situation to situation, and they encounter the mob, they encounter the bad cop, they drug the bad cop and end up killing him. They humiliate him and kill him. And then they go after the mob.
He's killed by cops. I mean, because he's
right.
Yeah. I mean, they set him up. They drug him, put him in blackface, put him in a dress, and he ends up like killing his not friends, but what would you call them? Henchmen.
Right.
Yeah. And then the cops show up, and he's firing a gun off in the air and shoots one of the cops, and they just
lay into him. Right.
This is so. I think my big knock on Bakshi is this anthology sort of format. Sometimes I feel like he's really good at these segments, but they don't always come together in like a coherent piece.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I'm with you. The narrative thread is hard to hold on to, and I think he has so many ideas that he wants to get into this movie. I think what I really love about this movie is the Miss America character.
So I was going to say that. Yeah. I mean, I think that, so as we were talking earlier, and I'm like, I don't know how like to feel about this and stuff, that's the thing that clicks it into place, I think. I think if you don't have that, this film could be, I think, easily misread, right?
Right.
To me, that like kind of knits everything together or connects the themes all together. Yeah.
And this movie gets tied in with blaxploitation, and it's not that, and it gets hijacked in a lot of senses of what it is and what it isn't. And I think it from a perspective of, again, it's a sexy, violent, animated film. I don't know. I know that's what drives butts to the seats. And I know that that's part of what I do think that that's also, an escalation of what current animation was. Right. So rather than pots and pans flying at characters and people getting hit over the head, you're showing the actual quote unquote aftermath and actuality of these things, right? Yeah. But I agree with you. I think Bakshi is so full of good ideas and good intentions that his narrative thread piece, and I think you'll see this when we talk about Wizards, and like they're so thin that it doesn't, like when you try to nail him down to a narrative thread, the movie becomes too simplistic. And it becomes kind of drudgery. In this sense, I think he understands his storytelling. Like, it doesn't always congeal, and but it's also like any other anthology where one section may not work for you, but I think the other ones really do. And like I said, I think the Miss America character, which is this gigantic, Jessica Rabbit type character, she's naked, she's voluptuous, she's wrapped in an American, she's white and she's wrapped in an American flag. She's colored as American flag, and she's always enticing people of color, these black characters, into her, and then fucking them over and
killing them.
Right. Yeah. My favorite line is when the one character has a gun. He's finally gotten a gun. And he starts to shoot at America. Like, he's starting to shoot at her, and like the bullets are just bouncing off her breasts. And she like opens her legs and invites him in when there's a gun inside between her legs. Yeah. And he's like, oh, she had the clap. But this idea that America is constantly like luring in and seducing and fucking over people of color, I think is a brilliant. I think that, and I look, it's not exactly subtle. I mean, I think it's really, really like you said, is what holds this whole thing together and makes it click. I think all of the interstitials are really the keys here. I think the Brer Rabbit story is a piss take on Song of the South and blaxploitation films of the time, and just and animation in general. But I think all of the message points are the trickle down economics of the, you know, the man trying to finding the red sweater and being so excited about finding the red sweater, and this idea of like, oh shit, my bag's getting too heavy to carry anymore because all of this trickle down bullshit you got on me, now I can't fucking carry the bag. I just think all of that, like, it is a message. God, how frustrating it has to. I mean, I know. I mean, it sounds so fucking self-serving coming from a dipshit white guy. But how fucking frustrating must it be to like have to tell the story over and over again? Like how fucking frustrating it must be to tell this story and people not fucking get it.
We talked about that with American Fiction and those other films. Yeah,
I mean, like, and how frustrating. Like, and so I don't know if like you take Bakshi as a whole, and like, does he do himself any favors with a big-breasted white, you know, voluptuous whore, hooker, sex worker, whatever we want to dance around that now, to make it positive.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but
no,
I know.
But
like, to focus. I mean, because you know that's what people are going to focus on, right?
Yep.
You make a lesbian story. You make blue is the warmest color. People are going to focus on the fucking, right? I mean, you make Drive-Away Dolls, and the first opening scene is you've got two, you know, switching oral sex scenes, and they're played for comedy. That's what people are going to fucking focus on. And again, whatever. But so does that undercut your message? But also, how do you get people in the fucking seats to hear the message? And I guess if you reach one person, and that's a better battle than reaching no people whatsoever. But like, I don't know. I think the good definitely outweighs the bad. And I do think this type of film, I think even today, like we'll talk about Wizards in a second, but like, I think the shit that he's talking about 40 years on, and then 50 years almost on Coonskin is still fucking relevant, man. And I just think that like, I think that type of shit, and I think that you pairing it with like things like Bamboozled these are important images to not shy away from. These are important images to, and I mean, look, and if it spurs a conversation, I don't think this is a film you have to like. I don't think this is a film that you have to, but I do think you need to fucking listen to it. And so, like, it doesn't have to make you feel good. It's going to be an enjoyment. Like, and in fact, I think if you take too much enjoyment from it, you might need to question why you're doing that, right?
Right.
And if you're just getting into the gangster aspect of it, and like, there's a comeuppance of it all. But I mean, this film ends just like Song of the South ends. I mean, it clearly is a fuck you to Disney, and it's a fuck you from hiding from it all and like not addressing it and just shoving it away in a vault and never fucking, and then re-releasing it in like the 80s because I fucking saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I don't know. This is, I think, like, these three films, like leading up to this is, and I think he was so heartbroken that Paramount didn't distribute this, and it made money, but in spite of itself and in spite of Paramount, I think he was really, really heartbroken that this film.
Well, and this is the one he considers his best, his masterpiece. Yeah, right? I mean, this is the one that he really. This is his baby.
Yeah,
right. I mean, it really is. I want to go back to this kind of like structure or format thing just for a second, because I think that I wish that there was more. You know, it doesn't have to be a coherent, necessarily a coherent narrative plot, right? Like we've talked about, stories take different forms. It's not just A, B, C, right? Or the Freytag's pyramid structure, right? It can be lots of different things, and I like this idea of having these vignettes that can stand alone, but then also kind of come together as something bigger. I guess I would have liked those to have been better, like as a whole, because I think that the Miss America interstitials and even like the storytelling interstitials from Scatman to Tubbs.
Philip Michael Thomas.
Thank you. I'm like, I don't know, he's just Tubbs. I apologize, Philip Michael Thomas. I mean, I think those are the things that provide the connective tissue between everything else, right? They're the things that, if you took those out, it would be, I think, then really harder to read and easier to focus just on what you want to focus and not what he's trying to really tell you, right?
Right.
So I guess I wish that there was more of that kind of throughout each one. That's all.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I would say that a lot of the blaxploitation thing suffered from this. I mean, not because the interstitials weren't there, but I think that a lot of them suffered from the same failings too. Like just where a lot of these threads just didn't come together as a whole. Yeah. But
and I mean, there's a lot of interesting references. I mean, to like the Sonny Liston of it all, right? With Bear being kind of, you know, quote unquote sold out to the mafia, but sort of not really. But yeah,
right. That's really when America's really interested in any of them is when he's the champ. This is one, again, I don't know, it would be the most controversial like of the ones that have been controversial that we've screened, but this would be the most controversial film club screening if we ever did screen this. But it'd be really interesting. In fact, it will. It's I don't know how we would do it. It would be tricky, but we would almost have to bring in people to come in and talk about it, historians. But a Bakshi retrospective would be cool.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. I mean, this coming from someone, again, a self-professed non-animation lover, right? I think these films have a lot to offer. And, you know, even with Wizards, as we get into Wizards in a minute, there's so much to talk about and dig into in these films, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how Lord of the Rings is going to go, to be honest. I'm like,
I think Lord of the Rings is going to go how you think Lord of the Rings is going to go.
I need to watch another fucking version of that story.
Well, just go in thinking that it was supposed to be John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Rotoscoped.
That'll be,
that'll make it better for you.
I want to read you a quote from Darius James in his book, That's Blaxploitation, Roots of the Badass-tude, rated X by an all-white jury. So he writes that Bakshi pukes the iconographic bile of a racist culture back in its stupid, bloated face, wipes his chin, and smiles Dirty Harry style. I thought that was a good quote about how someone else is like viewing this film and sort of what it's doing and what it's accomplishing. So
that's like we talk about the people behind these movies. Like I do think that I think he could have handled the core backlash, right? I think he probably expected it to a certain extent for people that didn't see the film. I think the studio backing away from him, which basically gave credence to Core's claims, really is what I mean. Like I think that's what kind of devastated him is because then he does go back and kind of I don't know what the first cut, like there's weirdly two cuts of this film and there's a 99-minute version cut and I can't find it anywhere. And it's like only like on Belgium DVD release, which is weird. Like that's fucking weird. Like that is And so, but
Flanders, Belgium.
Yes. And then there's the normal 83-minute cut, which there's things in the 83-minute cut that are not in the 99-minute, which is also odd. But after the Museum of Modern Art is where it first premiered,
right?
And then
I don't think it ever did. I think it was scheduled to, but I'm not sure that it ever played.
There were people walking out. I know that it actually did screen. And then so he goes back and
I shouldn't argue with my elders. I'm sorry.
He goes back and adds like explanatory shit into the film, like so. I think he adds the white character counting money behind, but that's
with the fake prophet, yeah.
Right. And there's some like more explicit, like he felt like he had to handhold a little bit more. He said he didn't cut anything, but he went in and made sure that certain things were more explicit than maybe what they would have been. But I think that the fact that Paramount pulls out undercuts anything that he can say that he's not racist or that this is not a racist film and that there's a conversation to be had here. And I think then you pull it to when you are no longer, it's a small distributor, and even though it makes money, all they give a shit about, then the taglines start to change, right? And then it becomes like, oh, we're going to market it as a blaxploitation film because this is no longer an art house thought piece. This is just tits and violence and whatever. And so, and then that, again, like if you look at I actually do. There's a great poster for this film where it's Brer Rabbit and then the Looney Tunes circles and it says "That's not all, folks." I fucking love that. But I mean, like a lot of it then is this was marketed initially as a film by black audiences, by black by black artists for a white audience, like to basically show, and like this is what they see, kind of a thing. And then it was then it became we all we need to do is make our money back, and so and so it's a little unfortunate that it I don't know, I don't think Bakshi gets, we talk about this in general about all these people we cover, like Cassavetes and May, but I don't think Bakshi gets the credit. I don't think that people talk about him. I don't think people, when they talk about The Simpsons or they talk about, we'll talk about this in a minute when we talk about Wizards, but like none of this should exist. Like I said, and I said this last episode too, but he's Lenny Bruce. He is Lenny Bruce of animation, and it's and like laying the groundwork for Eat My Shorts and all the other shit that came after it is it's what he was doing and being able to get it done is unprecedented. So that's all I have to say about Coonskin. Yeah.
Good times.
That's a long time to say about that.
That's wow.
Let's Forrest Gump this motherfucker right into
there
it.
You go. Oh God, what a shit fucking. Anyway, go watch Bakshi. Go dig into this guy. I mean, it's real. I mean, it really is an interesting sort of story and world that he not only created but sort of came from and built.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, go in knowing, going with your eyes open, because this is a film that slings the N-word around.
All of his, those first three films all do.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean,
and I think that was, that was definitely of the time.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, yeah, and we say this now, could this, like, we talk about films that can't get made? Can this film get made today?
Well, not by him.
Sure.
I mean, and I think, like, we talked about Ethan Coen. Is he the guy to tell the story about these two lesbians? I mean, clearly not, right?
Right.
But, does Bakshi get a pass? Or is he the right guy to tell this story? And I mean, part of me wants to say, well, he's hiring the people to do this animation, and he's hiring black animators. He's hiring graffiti artists to come in and do this animation. Okay. Right, perfect. He also grew up not in Harlem, but in a very kind of diverse part of Brooklyn. So he sees all this, right? And I understand that what he's doing really comes from, it's not autobiographical, but it is very much informed by what he saw growing up. The N-word, I don't know how to look. That's a conversation for them to have. I mean, the crew, right? I mean, the people working with him. So I mean, that would be my kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do think this is not
we don't know a lot.
Well, this is a story that still needs to be told. So if you need to if you need to use that word to tell this story, and I don't know, I'm not saying you do. I'm not.
No, but I think it's a question, right? Like, do you, and you're saying if you feel like you do. Yeah, I don't.
Right. I mean, roll the dice. I'd rather you roll the dice and be wrong than not take a big swing.
So I used to, sorry, but I used to teach a poem called "Talk" by Terrence Hayes. Terrence Hayes is a black poet. He was kind of like the poet that everyone likes. He was amazing. Mm-hmm. But so this poem is about the speaker is the poet, right? Is a black speaker, black poet. And he's recounting the story of being in grade school on a basketball team and doing an impression of Ronald Reagan, right, for his friend in the locker room. And his friend goes, "Oh my God, that's great. Now talk like a N-word," right? And so I used to teach this poem in a class full of white kids. I mean, as a way, now typically I wouldn't read the poem or read that word out loud, right? But it was as a way to kind of confront, and very much like Bakshi does, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, I mean, watching this, I was reminded of, not reminded, it's hard to forget, like, but you can see the corollary of making a group of white, if not racist, privileged, individuals confront that, right? What does it mean? What does that mean? How have you also sort of done that exact same thing?
Right.
But that word is so loaded in that poem, and then, to an audience like that as well. So my point is can we ever say it? And I think the answer is no. So, you know what I mean, right?
No, I'm with you. No,
it's
it's a valid question. Look, I don't, because it's so loaded, I don't think that look, can we say it? Of course we can fucking say it. I mean, like, it's not like, but I do.
You mean because we have agency and the illusion of free will, we can do whatever we want?
Right. Okay. I don't know if I could defend the choice of saying it, so I wouldn't say it.
Right.
Right. But if you're I don't want anybody to censor their art because they're afraid of backlash. If you can defend your art, then fucking art. I don't care. I mean, like, it's so that's fine.
Yeah.
I think this idea of absolutes is problematic, right? And again, I'm not arguing for free use of it.
No, but you're arguing against binary oppositions of like, there's only right, there's only wrong. Right.
Absolutely. And to have, like, if we put this film together we're sitting here saying Coonskin, so I mean, it's not like we're not dancing around it, right? And
it's a hat.
Is that what you interpreted it as? Had Bakshi not included the song at the beginning of the film,
it would have rang false.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, was a white guy in the 70s the right guy to tell this story? Man, I don't fucking know. That's a question you have to answer.
Then again, yourself. Look at a film like Blazing Saddles.
Right.
And I know that it's different, but not really. It's doing, I think, a lot of the same things, right? Confronting a sort of like white racist society.
I think it's a dangerous precedent that we set to say certain people can and can't tell stories. Right. I do think that opportunity needs to exist for the people who own those stories to tell those stories.
Well, and Richard Pryor wrote.
No. Absolutely.
Blazing Saddles. So that's why I wanted to make sure that, like, those of you who don't know.
Right. But had he not, and it was still, like, does it, I mean, I think we kind of use it as a crutch a little bit. Like, I mean, is that important that Pryor wrote it so we can excuse it?
No, I'm not. Well, no, I'm not excusing it, but I'm kind of saying the same thing about, like, Bakshi.
Right.
Yeah, and saying, okay, Bakshi was doing the work. He wasn't just flippantly, like, throwing that word around, right? He was doing the other work that came along with telling the story. Right. Is what I meant. And so the same thing, with Pryor being a writer on that script, at least, like, Brooks is sort of doing.
Right, but I still think
that's all I was.
No.
I'm not saying like no. Look, I can watch Blazing Saddles because I know that Richard Pryor wrote it. It's okay.
Right, but I do think we do that though, right?
Well, do we?
No, you and me, but I mean, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. Like it's okay for me to tell this joke because I heard it from a black guy.
Right. Or
but that same kind of idea, that crutch of, like, I'm excusing myself because of.
Right. But I also think that I think it gives us a little bit of ability to say, well, okay, now we don't have to look at this critically because
separation.
Right. I mean, if and again, maybe that's the true, like, equality of it all, is that then we look at I don't know. This is too much of a fucking deep conversation to get to. And I don't have a good like end point for this conversation, to be honest.
Well, because there is no. I mean, there really is no end point.
Right.
And I don't just mean that as like a joke, but I mean, again, we keep seeing the same stories being told over and over, and we're gonna have these same conversations over and over because we don't have enough. In fact, I think we are regressing in these terms. We are seeing people use that word and shrug their shoulder. White individuals use that word and shrug their shoulders and say, like, well, what? Like, nothing you say offends me, so why does it offend you? It's just a word. And using that, without the realization that words have actual cause and effect. So
yeah, I guess I go back to the core, that's the racial equality that the backlash that they had against the film but not even seeing the film and basing it off of what they heard. I think that's kind of where I'm like targeting, essentially, where it's just like,
because it shuts down conversation,
right?
You never get the chance to
and I'm not saying that we have to take every utterance of the N-word on face value, being that it's that it's well intentioned, right, or it has a point or a meaning behind it. Certainly not. But I do think that we should not be censoring artists who believe in their message. And I'm not, and again, I know it's a tricky and a slippery slope. And I know that maybe not slippery slope is not the right word, but
that's the wrong.
Yeah. I know it's tricky, and I know that people will avoid it. But I think if you can defend it, take the fucking swing, is all I'm saying. Yeah.
That's a good place to stop.
There we go. Let's go into Wizards.
Yay, magic.
There will come a time on the planet Earth when science and technology will be long forgotten. When humanity will rise from the ashes of nuclear holocaust. When wizards will rule the world. 20th Century Fox presents Wizards, a futuristic fantasy epic born in the mind of Ralph Bakshi, the master of animated magic. It is the story of two brothers, Avatar and Black Wolf, powerful wizards, and mortal enemies from the day they were born. Avatar, the good, who rules the peaceful kingdom of Montagar with wisdom.
Science and technology were outlawed millions of years ago.
And magic. Black Wolf, the future Führer.
Attention! Behold!
Who rediscovers the ancient secrets of propaganda, technology, and war. And sends out his mutant armies in a reign of unimaginable terror. In Wizards, you will also meet the lovely Princess Eleanor, the loyal elf Weehawk, and Peace, Black Wolf's evil robot henchman, who is transformed into an avenging instrument of justice. Wizards is a Tolkien world of fairies and elves, sorcerers, and demons. It is shot 10 million years from now, against strange and huge panoramic settings. And it is more fantastic, more enchanting, and more powerful than anything you've seen before. Wizards, the ultimate futuristic fantasy epic.
Okay, Wizards, this is 1977, a few years after Coonskin, right? This is the first non-quote-unquote urban film of Mr. Bakshi. On a post-apocalyptic Earth, a wizard and his fairy folk comrades fight an evil wizard who's using technology in his bid for conquest.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, these have been pretty accurate so far. I can't really complain.
Well, the first one was ridiculous, right? But
the first
Driveway Dolls was
since Love Lies Waiting, it's been pretty good.
Yeah. So this is almost like an attempt to reckon with the Enlightenment, right? So we killed God and religion, right, and replaced it with this new God and religion of like logic and science. But then that destroyed us all, right? So we went back to magic, right, which is kind of what religion is. I shouldn't say that. Sorry. But then that got corrupted.
Take your swing and defend your stance.
I know. Like that got corrupted too. And so a new technology is trying to kill us again. And that's kind of like,
well,
I mean, look, Jesus turned water into wine. That's a magic trick, right? I mean, that's just like distraction. I heard he did card tricks too.
Right. It's mostly, it's.
Oh no, those were the miracles for like sainthood.
Right. He picked out, he was able to find the two of diamonds, and that's
You know, you need 4 miracles to become a saint.
Right. He did the never-ending handkerchiefs trick, sawing the apostle in half, water into wine, and then
so I think there's some interesting ideas in this film.
Yeah, I do too. It's this movie. Looking at it today, I think this came out the same year that Star Wars comes out. Like I do think it's ahead of its time in regards to I don't love wizards. I like wizards. I don't love wizards. I think the look of it's cool. I think I don't know. I think the rotoscoping is kind of cool, and what he's doing with the background and stuff like that. I think
that got him to Lord of the Rings. I mean, he did that because he ran out of money.
Right. I mean, he had to, right? I mean, but I do think it actually looks interesting.
I do too. I mean, this was one that where the sort of like real world and animation, the way that it played in those like battle scenes, I thought that looked really good. Yeah. I mean, I'm just really interesting in how it added to the sort of atmosphere and texture of the film.
I think the downfall of this movie, this is just not the kind of story that I'm attracted to. This and it's fairly simple, right? It's 2 twin wizards that are born that one is coddled by them, one is favoritism of his mother, and then one is not and tortures animals.
To be fair, the bad one ran away as soon as he was born. He just scuttled off into the dark.
And so there's been 3,000 to 5,000 years of peace, and so the good wizard has become kind of apathetic, and is not really he's let all these other ruling forces, these different types of fairies and dwarves and gnome, whatever. I don't even know what they all are. That's whoosies and what's its and what have yous. This is how I view all of these fucking fantasy stories.
No, me too. I'm like, oh, okay. No, that's not elvish. Oh, shut the fuck up. Just don't.
None of it's anything. And so they
made
all
up fucking thing.
They all exist, and of course his evil twin brother is been stewing for 5,000 years, and has had his people searching for a way to take over the world, and they stumble upon I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm moving my hand around.
You got a DJ gig later.
That was very embarrassing.
No one can see you.
I know no one can see
for me,
you, right?
And I don't even care. I just ignore you half the time.
But they uncover these reels, these basically triumph of the will. They uncover Leni Riefenstahl's
life. I was going to say, yeah. Propaganda.
Some old 35 millimeter Leni Riefenstahl films. And basically,
the wizard was on eBay.
They reinstitute the rise of fascism to unite this horde of.
But it instills confidence in this horde of evil, because before they would still try to make these attacks. They would venture into fairyland, and then they'd get scared and run away.
Right, and fairyland turned away millions and killed millions of their soldiers, kind of thing. But yeah, right. For whatever reason, this impassioned speech and Hitlerism and Nazism and I think it's an interesting look. I think the whole concept of this movie, I think the ideas that it has are interesting. I think it's a little. For an 80-minute film, it's a little long.
Yeah.
It slogs along. Yes. It doesn't know, Bakshi... I will say this, that I think it's a little unfair to judge it that way too harshly, because he just didn't have the money to make what he
Sure.
Had he had the money, everything would have looked like the pencil tests that are in, the still scenes. And this would have been... had they have given him another, $10 million... we would be talking about this film today.
Yeah.
We would be talking about this it was Star Wars, and it would have ushered in all kinds of crazy shit, and even more than it did. Yeah. But because then, from this, you start to see things in the 80s like Black Cauldron, and you start to see Fire. I mean, Fire and Ice is his, but then you see all these other pseudo-adult animated things like Star Chaser, and there's other movies like this. There weren't a ton of them because it was still animation, and it was hand-drawn animation. It took a long time to make it, but had you given him if you doubled his budget, I think people would. It wouldn't be this VHS tape that was passed around at parties in the 80s from, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's this
weird parties. we were talking the other day about you smoking cloves, and now it's all making a lot more sense.
You didn't have you didn't watch heavy metal or like these we talk about background movies that exist that kind of like you pass around, like, I don't know, The Road Warrior, or like these these kind of pseudo cultish films that weren't like at the precipice of pop culture at the time. This is a movie that existed in the realm of look, it had a killer poster by William Stout. It was always kind of like.
So you got it from Joaquin Phoenix in 8mm?
Yes, yeah. I was like, psst, come here. I got something for you in the back. Have you seen Wizards, man? It's fucking shit's gonna blow your fucking mind, man.
Don't tell him you got it here, though. Okay?
Yeah. Don't tell him you got this PG movie.
Let me put it in this brown paper bag.
Don't tell anybody, man. I saved the good stuff for my favorite customers. Look, this is a movie that, like, before you had the internet and could search out anything, like, this is a movie that people, like, aficionados of, like, you wanted to show somebody something that was cool or weird or, like, bizarre. This is a movie you kind of threw in. And this is one of those movies you kind of threw in. Like, Wizards wasn't, like, but it was never, like, I don't know. It was just, it was like, I think it's one of those things, like, it's like Saturday Night Fever. Like, you've seen the poster for it because it's Necron 99 on the horse thing.
Right.
And it's just a cool visual. But like, have you ever really sat down to watch it, kind of thing? But like, I think it's a well-worn VHS tape that you've got that's hidden between, you know, your mom's recording of Days of Our Lives and, you know, the
don't do it.
1980 Olympiad opening ceremonies.
Oh,
it was,
right.
It was what you hid in between those two things. Like, not that it's even like overly sexual.
I was because it's not, because this one isn't. Right.
I mean, he gets a little flack for like his overly busty female characters, but I don't. Yeah. But I think that too. Like, I mean, and he doesn't give them anything to do. But this is 77. Like, I mean, am I going to judge?
She's there to sing. I mean, they literally say that's why we brought you along.
But all the characters are like, I mean, like Avatar sucks. I mean, like he's done nothing with his reign. He's not made the realm any better. Mm-hmm. What I love about this film too is that, like, I think Bakshi knows this, is that the win is a Pyrrhic victory. I mean, like, they don't really do anything with it. You know, they just conquer Nazism at the time, and then that's basically it.
Well,
they're
in fact, they used the technology to defeat the technology.
Right.
I mean, right. Yeah. So no, I mean, it's a weird, but again, like, I think that's an interesting concept of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. I didn't understand necessarily the need for the Nazi and Hitler stuff. Because it could have just been the technology
in 2024.
No. What I'm saying is like, it just seems like I mean, I understand that these ideas, those ideas of fascism and Nazism and the bigotry and racism that comes along with it, is never gone away. I get that, but showing those reels and those clips, and that's the thing that sort of incites or instills everyone with courage, when what it also seems to be telling us is that the real danger here is this kind of technology, and how we want to use this technology, these bits of technology, to overtake and overcome and instill this kind of fear. I guess I didn't need on-the-nose representation of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying... I understand how it's working, and I understand this idea of how propaganda works. Right.
Well, it's also us ignoring history and literally burying history.
Okay, right. But I think too that is looking at it from a 2024 lens.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
you don't.
I think that's exactly what he was talking about.
Okay,
because you look at the realm of the religious room, and it's Coca-Cola signs and Oscar statues and like, they go back and they talk about how
of the
yeah.
But that seemed to me more about, I mean, the kind of sense of growing capitalism and everything else that's going on with that.
I just think it's a forgotten history, though. I think it's us forgetting. I mean, like, in misunderstanding
how much we love Coca-Cola, and pinball machines.
Yes, that's exactly that. No, I think the ideas that it was carrying, are still, and of course we don't tend to learn anything at all.
No, right. I mean, as we've said, like, multiple times, right? I mean, no, they're like, we're repeating stories over and over because we aren't fucking learning. right? I mean, I guess I understand all that. I understand it, but I think that's almost, and again, we can agree to disagree. You can be wrong. It's fine.
Look,
I have no problem with that.
Anytime Lenny Riefenstahl can pop up, man, I'm all for it.
Careful. I was like, whoa, so Lenny Riefenstahl's the real evil here? Oh, okay, right. No, to me, it wasn't so much like, okay, these ideas, the Hitler, the Nazism, these ideas are what's driving us, but it's this idea of, right, the propaganda, of technology, of what we can do with that and how we can conquer other people with that, rather than ideology of hate. Because there's two competing ideologies in this film, neither of which are like 100% good or right.
Right. I think that's the point.
And
though,
I do too. And I guess that's why I'm saying, like, I didn't necessarily need
Nazism or the swastikas to come up or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, I think it drives home a point. Maybe it's too heavy-handed. Maybe it's a mallet over the head. But I do think, like, and again, I do think it with a 2024 lens, it actually it's
because of the that's what I was saying. Like, because of the sort of rise in that, right? And we're seeing more and more swastikas and people like espouse these ideas openly, right?
Right.
Then yeah, it does, right? Then I think it says something new to us about today. But if I do that like bracketing job of where I'm like, okay, I'm watching this from the place, or trying to from like a 1977 place, then I'm like, I don't know.
I think I mean, my read on it is that it doesn't necessarily, it could have been Stalinism, it could have been anything really. I think Nazism is an easy. I think look, the imagery of, you know, Nazi era Germany is so striking that that it's an easy take, right? And you have a lot of, if you're looking for a way to insert background into your film, you've got a lot to work with when you're talking about, like, there's a lot of visual history with what Leni Riefenstahl did and just in general with the filming of Hitler's Germany, but
his oration style, and like, I mean, really sort of pumping people up. I think you've convinced me.
But I like this idea of that he's been battling for 3,000 years and has finally stumbled on this evil that has finally gelled his movement, right? Yeah. His ability to take over the world. There's a lot going on in this film that like it, and then this falls. I think if you love fantasy, this will work for you a lot better than it probably worked for either one of us.
Yeah.
I love the visual flair of this movie. I love the way that it looks. I love that it just has such a 70s feel to it from the animation style, but it also is. The battle scenes I think are really cool. I like the character designs. I think, you know, it also just like, it bleeds so much into the 80s Saturday morning cartoons. Like, so having a kind of a dangerous edge to that, like, always really, like, I just kind of felt drawn to this. Like,
get it?
So watching it, like, I have a lot of grace for Wizards. I can see coming into it now because, again, so much is taken from it, and also like stood on its shoulders, right? I mean, like, you look at something like even like He-Man, which is heavily influenced by this. Like,
so I mean, I think I told you this when we started the Bakshi stuff, that this reminded me of, like, you know, Thundar the Barbarian and He-Man and that kind of stuff. Right. So not just in the style, but also I think in sort of how it was playing with fantasy, future, and that idea of technology, right? And how technology kind of ruins us, or can ruin us, and what we should just do is believe in, you know, magic sky daddy.
Right. Well, and I mean, I like, and I do think, you know, talking about Bakshi and like it never really being black and white or what it's shown on the screen, I do think that, like, I don't know how, like, Wizards is easily taken on face value as good versus evil. But again, if you look at this, like, how this film ends up, like, you do I mean, like, especially if you're not viewing it from a lens of a child, there is no great outcome here.
Right.
This world is still in peril, right?
Well, and ideologies are dangerous, period. Right. And I think, and so when I said that, I mean, that's what I meant. Like, these are dangerous, ideologies in themselves are dangerous. And when you're too invested in one over the other, things can go bad. And that's how I read this, was that neither one was necessarily.
Right. Because, I mean, like, you come to realize that the brothers aren't as different as they purport to be. Like, Avatar pulls out a gun and says, "I'm glad you changed your last name, you son of a bitch," and he shoots him. And you're like, wait a minute, you were the whole, like, we live by love and peace, and this is how we win, is like, because, and this is how we've overcome the technology that's oppressed us, is by through love and magic. And then you just pull out a gun and shoot him through the chest. I mean, and I think that's the point, right? I mean, like that you're supposed to walk away from this kind of feeling kind of gross, and like, and this, that the Necron 99 and the Peace robot was probably right all along. Like, he was right to be suspicious of everybody, essentially.
Yeah. So speaking of all that, this is a little bit of a digression, but Michelle Obama wondering why people aren't voting. Are we all stuck to our phones too much? It's like, no. Because we have these two ideologies, and that's all we have to choose from. So no. But no. But I mean, that same kind of idea, aren't we supposed to overcome this technology, and how we're supposed to do this? I mean, a lot of I think what we're seeing, today with technology, with that mindset, with the why are we so invested in these things, I think is also in this film. And as you said earlier, he's kind of prescient in a lot of this stuff, and these films are still speaking to today.
Yeah.
Even if they're,
I mean, like, which is unfortunate. I would love to say, hey, Ralph, you did it, man. You fucking,
you fixed it.
You conquered all these.
He's still alive. He would take credit for it, I think, if he was able, if it actually worked out that way.
Oh well.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think I do, like, when I said earlier about this film seems like an attempt to reckon with the Enlightenment. I think that, and I think that it's one of the few pieces of art that does that sort of looks back and goes, maybe this reliance on logic wasn't such a great idea, because all we did was trade one religion for another.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And magic. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I weirdly, this one not being told in vignettes almost has like a weaker narrative thread than some of the other ones.
Yeah. Well, because like the points are driven home, but over a longer period of time, so like he's kind of softer with them in a sense. Like it doesn't feel as urgent, right? And so like, and maybe these ideas that he's saying, that he's giving us in Wizards, aren't as urgent as the ones that in Fritz or in Coonskin, but
different.
They're different, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's look. I think we've seen his best films.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think there's some fun to be had in the remaining ones, but I think we've seen his best films, and I think that's. But that's okay. I mean, that's not. It is what it is.
Yeah. Mark Hamill's first movie role.
I know.
Yeah.
Lucas definitely his voiceover role too.
Yeah.
So leading up to him.
Lucas gave him time off from Star Wars.
He's in it for like 4 minutes.
I know. Oh, poor Sean.
I know.
As long as Bakshi changed took the word wars out of the title.
Wizard Wars, which would have been weird anyway.
I know.
Hard, like, Wizards is the best. Like, I mean, like, it's not.
it's the best least option.
I love that computer font too. Like, I know. And the voiceover is fun. That was one thing about in Coonskin too. We didn't really talk about in the beginning of Coonskin, where you just have the characters on and talking about. There's 350 people who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and one of them was black, or two of them were black, and one of them was pushed. It's just, and they start out, they come out on screen, and they space the first two words are "fuck you." So goddamn good, man.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, that was good. I feel like I was going to say something else, but I don't fucking know.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else?
There'll be another episode.
Quentin Tarantino describes the character Avatar as a cross between Tolkien's Hobbit, Mel Brooks' 2,000-Year-Old Man, and Marvel Comics' Howard the Duck. I just wanted to throw that in there. I don't know. I just needed a quote. So that was all.
I mean, look, he's marrying young. Let's put it that way. To me, I like, it's so dumb, but I fucking love the stupid sex joke at the end of this movie.
Oh yeah, it's like, come on, let's make it.
Come on, let's make it. So, aren't you a little old for it? Yeah, it's like,
I meant let's get going.
I meant let's make it out of here. I'm like, what? Come
on, no. But so that was like, did you ever have someone like older, and someone said Jamaica, and they'd go, Jamaica? I don't even know her.
Oh, God.
I never understood that joke. Like as a kid, I'm just like,
right.
I even in high school, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't get it. Right. So yeah. Anyway. Okay. So next time we'll do something else.
Yeah, we're
gonna do some more Bakshi, and we're gonna do some more
Hey Good Looking in American Pop, I believe, the next two.
Well, because you got the other.
Look, Hey Good Looking.
I'm kidding.
Was made before Wizards.
Wow.
All right, so look, you know,
calm down. I know. Like, hey man,
I'm gonna fucking Love Lies leading this motherfucker in a second.
Whoa! All right, you heard it, folks. Threats of violence.
We've learned nothing from Wizards.
We haven't, right? Peace and love will never win. Okay, all right. So if there's nothing else, until next time, thank you all for listening.
And keep screaming.
You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you are in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time,